This is Loudonville, it's the Laurent Valley, and for 20 kilometers the Pyrenean Mountains separate Spain from France. The riders in the Tour today, they'll battle it out on French roads before they come down for a rare finish here in Loudonville. The lake here, by the way, built in 1975, is man-made and there's lots of fun to be had. This is a real valley and the riders get to it the hard way over the big climbs of the Pyrenees. That's where we are, as always, in the shadow of these great mountains. Hello everybody, welcome to our coverage here on Versus, especially you guys up there in Canada who we know are enjoying our coverage of this great race.
Because Contador now in second place is at 2:23. Cadel Evans probably disappointed with his ride yesterday, lost 2:04 and dropped down to 3:04 in the standings. Levi Leipheimer lost a little bit of time but moved up in places to fourth place at 4:29.
Andries Kloden there, he also moved up slightly in fifth. And Carlos Sastre, I don't think was riding too well yesterday. He loves the Pyrenees, maybe today. All right, well, let's catch up with what's happened so far. Earlier today, the riders have been, and this crash we're seeing right now, a nasty fall. That was Sarsi going over the top of Christophe Lemevelle. It was Lemevelle himself who fell first, and sadly he didn't get up from this crash. He's in the ambulance and out of the Tour. We're down to 161 today. Cyril Dessels also abandoned, the man that wore the yellow jersey briefly last year. Well, a breakaway has established. 25 riders are clear at the moment. We'll catch up with those shortly. There's the weather. Cooling down a bit. It's good weather for racing in the Pyrenees, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Mostly cloudy. In fact, we've had one or two rainstorms at the finishing line, but it looks as though it's clearing away now. Right, well, this is the situation, Paul. 25 riders clear. None of the challenges as we now see them, but we've got Vinokourov in there and George Hincapie and Christian van der Velde.
Yeah, but probably more dangerously right in there as well is Haimar Zubel. You can't see him, he's the rider in the orange jersey. Take your hat off this man, because here this man was more than half an hour behind yesterday when he got to the finish of the Plateau de Bay. But he's a man of great pride and courage and character, and he said today, I'm looking for the move and I'll go for a stage win.
Well, Vinokourov now is in fact 34 minutes 12 seconds down, sitting in 30th place. The best placed man in the break, as Paul said, is Zubeldia in 13th place at 12:15, and Kim Kirken one place behind him in 14th, 13 minutes 16 seconds. Now at the moment, as you can see, they're gaining quite big time here. I don't think this will happen throughout the day. Just looking at Bradley Wiggins at the back of the peloton at the moment. Well, we came down to 161 riders today. We had two non-starters. The Lanterne Rouge, Philippe Gilbert, didn't start. And funnily enough, too, one of the big stage winners in the first week, Filippo Pozzato, has not started either. So you're right up to date now as we settle down for the next 100 kilometers of riding here in the Pyrenees. Well, this is heading up towards the summit now of the climb of the Porte d'Aspet, which will take us with 97 kilometers to go. We've covered 99 kilometers by the time we get to the top. We've got this breakaway of 25 riders. I'm delighted to say Christian van der Velde, having a wonderful tour, is in this leading group, and that's him, number 37. Don't drop back too far, coming up towards the top of the Porte d'Aspet. Christian's riding well, 41st in the overall classification, 47 minutes behind Michael Rasmussen. Highest place rider in the escape is Haimar Zubeldia, 13th and 12 minutes 15 seconds down. But as you can see, at the moment, this group is getting ahead, 9:25 ahead right now, which is interesting, because if it gets much more, then Rasmussen himself is going to have to take an interest. Well, while they continue up towards the top of the climb, let me remind you, it's time to play and enjoy with us the Saab Watch and Win field there. A little bit of a chance to have a look at Michael Rasmussen. Well, just about half a kilometre, maybe a little bit less here on the climb of the Porte d'Aspet, which is it's only a second category climb. It's a stepping stone, this one. And the riders on the front here are represented, by the way, by 17 teams. This is Garate setting the pace for Quick-Step. Astana and Euskaltel-Euskadi pulled a little bit of a coup here over Discovery Channel, who took the team lead yesterday, because now they've got 3 riders each in this move. But it might be getting a little bit dangerous now. It's climbed up to over 8 minutes, which puts Zubeldia within 4 minutes of the race lead. So I don't think this is going to survive with these sort of time gaps today, but the field are probably holding off, maybe till they get on to the big climb, the all category climb of the Porte de Bailès.
It also makes it a little bit dangerous for some of the other teams here as well, Phil, because Denny Menchoff is another rider who's a rider of great character in the leading breakaway. A bit of an acceleration there coming from Boyga Telecom, Laurent Lefebvre.
He's the highest placed rider in the breakaway in the King of the Mountain, so he's picked himself a few points. He's still far away from the leaderboard, though.
Oh, a long way back. He's an hour and 34 minutes behind in the overall classification, and they're now starting the descent of the Col de Porte d'Aspet.
He's a lot closer in the KOM, though. He's the best placed.
Yes, I know he was, yeah. He was an hour and a half. Is a long way down.
Looking down on the main field then. Put off the back of the peloton. Well, there's a lot of pressure gone on in the back of that field, Paul. Anybody thought they were going to get just a gentle ride to the rest day because of all the action yesterday? I think we might be wrong here, because that breakaway has been given too much of a lead. Ivanov is off the front of that now, and there's only 23 riders left in the chase.
Well, actually, I can't really see the logic of Ivanov making a move like that at a place like this. It was a very hard attack. He's got a couple of teammates in there. You mentioned about the fact they were making a great operation for the team classification, but a move like this is actually going to break up the impetus of that large group, which before he started his aggression was a 25-man leading group. The only way he can save something out of a move like this is if a group of 5 to 10 riders come up and join him.
Well, they may well say they're leaving to stew right now, and he's looking over his shoulder to see what he's doing, but as nobody has come with him, he's sort of caught himself into no man's land now. I bet he expected some of the Spanish climbers to chase him and to try and split up what is a very big breakaway group at the moment.
Well, it's not really quite the time to do it as we go back to the Porte d'Aspet. This is the main field coming over the top. No more prizes left available. Juan Antonio Fletcher is the man going over the front end, just trying to make this a little bit more sensible, and they've done that now, Phil, because they brought it inside of the 8-minute mark.
That's much more manageable, yeah. There's the field over the top of the Porte d'Aspet. That's the second category out of the way. We still have the first category climb, the Col de Monte, which is next. And then we have the Porte de Bailles, which comes after that, the Hors category. And then the final climb today, the Col du Père-Sourde, which climbs away from Luchon, a famous Pyrenean town, so well known as the Tour de France, has been coming through here over the years. 1910, I think it was the first time we started the climbs of there. Well, just looking now at Sergei Ivanov, common sense has prevailed. He wanted people to join him, but he's got the lot all coming up to the back wheel here. And this a reasonably good breakaway. The order over the top, by the way, of the Porte d'Aspet, time out there, is Laurent Lefebvre ahead of Patrice Algon, Juan Manuel Garate, Sergei Ivanov, Ruben Perez. Those are the 5 riders over the top. The 6th rider they've had to take to the photo, so they're not.
This is the Tour de France, and no professional bike rider wants to abandon the Tour. They want to get to the finish any which way they can. It's like trying to climb Mount Everest or trying to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. You want to get to the top. You don't want to stop. You don't want to stop halfway up.
In fact, only 27 riders have been forced out. We'll switch back here, as this will be Garate going for the summit of the, and he gets it from Laurent Lefebvre, just to put Laurent in his face. So Garate's got 2 of the climbs today. Lefebvre's got 1. That was just a quick sprint. We just caught that one, didn't we? Our director there almost missed the shot. Anyway, the Col de Monte, 82 kilometers to go. Juan Manuel Garate over first, leading us off the Col de Monte. Time for a little bit of food for Manuel Garate. Lefebvre's riding well, Paul. He's really looking forward today, because the next we go through Marignac next at 69 kilometers to go. So we've got about 10 kilometers or so to descend for the sprint, and then we'll start the climb of the 20-kilometer climb of the Porte de Bailles.
Well, that's really going to be, I think, where we'll see this leading group of 25, Phil, start to splinter and fraction, because at 20 kilometers, that is a very long climb. Yes, it's only an average gradient of 6.2%, and early on it's really an undulation, because the early kilometers are around about 4 and 5%, but after that it starts to get very grippy at 10, 8, 9.5% for most of the second half of that climb, and that's where I think we'll start to see that group really splinter and we may well see a lot of riders left behind from the main field as well, because everybody is realizing just how difficult that climb is going to be, and that's, I think, when Rabobank will start to turn up the screws.
Well, I think we should see quite a good battle there, which will be mid-term battle today. Cadel Evans feeling he was, it didn't suit him, that climb of the Bias today, but he might go better when we get on to the bigger climbs in the middle of the course. He's also got the chance now, Paul, that Discovery Channel have got to take charge as well now, because they've got a man in second place overall, so it's a two-pronged attack now against Rasmussen. There's the top of the Monte as we continue to wait for the arrival of the boys with the yellow jersey, bringing him. Pizzato didn't start. I've not heard anything to suggest he's ill, but he obviously wasn't enjoying his ride yesterday. Still just over 8, just on 8.5 minutes. And we're joining the 5 new breakaways here at the front. They've just got clear on the lower slope. They've just started the climb. And the names are David Arroyo, Inigo Landaluz, Bernard Cole, Johan Schopp and Sergei Ivanov have pushed on just as the slope started. Just sitting here at the back at the moment is Schopp of Bouygues Telecom. As we look out across the top now, we've got 20 riders behind, by the way. Well, as I promised you before we went to break, it's time to look at our profile today, and we've chosen Carlos Sastre because he needs to improve on his 6th place. Here's our Hampton Hotels Pro. Has decided that breakaway of 5 is a little bit too serious, and Denis Menchov has crossed the gap alone here with a very good cadence. He's not quite there yet, but he's going to be very, very shortly. He's timed at 10 seconds. He's coming. Good chase here by Denis Menchov. Well, there we are, Paul. He's only had 1 win this year, staged in the Tour of Catalunya in Spain, but he was 4th in the Dauphiné Libre. He seemed ready for the Tour de France. He's had to play second fiddle to Rasmussen, but he's free to fly right now. Wears the most famous number, 51 in the Tour de France, and that was the number, by the way, that Ocaña was wearing when he crashed in 1971. We shouldn't tell him that, should we? Well,
that was not very lucky. It's always regarded as a very lucky number, because in fact Bernard Hinault won the Tour de France for the first time with this number. So too did Jacques Anquetil, so too did a certain Eddy Merckx as well, and that's why everybody regards it very much as a lucky number. A lot of people think it's the number that has most won the Tour de France, but in fact that's quite wrong, because the number that's won the Tour de France on the most number of occasions is actually number 1.
I know, but that's cheating, because that's the number you always get if you're the previous winner. Anyway, 8 minutes 16 seconds, and it's now 6 riders in the lead as they've climbed, let me just see, it's 49 kilometers to go. Then they must have climbed a couple of kilometers up now.
I think that's a kite, Phil.
That one is a kite. I'll get that one right, yes. And it's got no strings attached. It's a black kite here in the Pyrenees. As we've got 6 riders up front. Menchov has now joined. Then we go back to 20, and then the peloton. Looking at the peloton now on the lower slopes of the Porte Balès. It's a 19-kilometer climb. There's a breakaway of 6 ahead of the original breakaway, which totaled 25. And Sergei Ivanov, who was in that leading group, has just dropped away from it and looked pretty tired. The mountain suddenly reared Elder, so he's struggling a little bit on these lower slopes. Time in hand, though. So come on, Christian. He's having a wonderful Tour de France in 41st place overall. This is Cole of Austria for Gerolsteiner, one of only 3 teams with all of their men left riding. Still pushing on the pressure here at the front, and he's gone to the back now, Denis Menchov, and here comes Vinokurov, and helped by Sergei Ivanov, you see, Paul. Maybe he wasn't tired, maybe he went back to bring him up here.
Well, I tell you one thing, Sergei Ivanov, I don't think did get dropped from the front end of this main field. He went back to get Alexander Vinokurov. What a performance of Alexander Vinokurov, Phil, because he won the individual time trial, got blown away by 26 minutes, and now he's actually looking for a stage win.
Well, that's a great piece of team tactics by Ivanov. He slowed dramatically, but he wasn't slowing because he was tired. He slowed because he was waiting. And he's brought his teammate. Now he's swung over to the left, and that might be goodbye, Sergei. As he comes down, he's gone. He did a brilliant job. He's put his team captain back in position here to come back from the dead and win a stage.
That, I tell you what, that just goes to show how much a man can push himself for a team leader. Now this man went right into the red zone. If you've got a Formula One car or a NASCAR, this guy was turning there, Phil, at 8,000 revolutions a minute. There's no more oil left in the engine. What he's got to do now is try and let the engine and the turbo cool down a fraction, because he's still got to get to the top of this climb.
Exactly, and he's got to beat the time limit too, and he's after this climb he's got the Parasol before he comes to join us here in the Val Louron. Well, he's put his man where he wants him now. His job is done, and he split that breakaway up at the same time. There's no longer 25 riders on this mountain as a group. They are quite literally spread all over the place. It's David Arroyo, Denny Menchov, Landeluz, Bernard Cole, Schopp, Vinokurov, Daniel Navarro has got up there as well, and Juan Jose Cobo, who is also another rider having a great season.
Well, very often we always used to talk about Tommy D as being Tommy Danielson. I think in the Tour de France this year, Tommy D is Thomas Dekker, who is turning out to be a super domestique. This is Johann Schopp.
Looks like he may have got dropped now.
Swiss rider on Bouygues Telecom. They're still looking at 8.5 minutes between the leading group of riders on the road, Phil, and the yellow jersey group. But that yellow jersey group, last time we looked at it, had seriously been reduced.
Yes, it is Schopp who's just gone through. Well, he's been dropped from the breakaway, has he? Or is he going clear? He's going clear of the breakaway.
Well, he's decided this is a big chance for him. Alexander Vinokurov has actually brought back into the race, and it changes the strategy here of Denny Menchov, because coming back into the race, Phil, was in fact Haimar Zubeldia. But this is a move now. This is why Team Astana are very dangerous, because this is Andrei Koshekin, 7th overall, 7 minutes behind. But Team Astana are not going to go out of this for this Tour de France, Phil, on the back foot. They will throw everything at Michael Rasmussen that they can.
I tell you what, Koshekin, like all of this team, never stop trying, never stop prizing, feeling, just seeing who is watching and waiting. This is the rider this year, hasn't won a race this year, but he did finish 3rd in the Tour of Romandy, which is a mini Tour of Switzerland in May, and he did finish 3rd, and he led briefly the Dauphiné Libre, and that's about where you want to be with your form before you come to the France. They opened it. Here we come now. This is Kim Kirken, also in more than trouble now as they continue to climb here. Well, this has been a great leveler, this one, as they're now on the slopes here. Kirken made a good move getting into the breakaway. He's got a bit of work to do, though, to stay here. The lonely roads of the Porte de Bayes at the moment. That was Kim Kirken of Luxembourg in the T-Mobile. The peloton is splintered. It's just a handful of stars chasing now at 7:19. And this rider here is leading. Oh, Kim Kirken, in fact, Paul, has now made an inspired move from that breakaway to try and reach Schopp.
Well, I'm amazed at the performance of Schopp here, Phil, because if I look at the overall classification, this rider here from Bouygues Telecom is in 147th place overall, 2 hours, 17 minutes and 53 seconds behind Michael Rasmussen. But all of a sudden, I think he's enjoying the 3rd week of the Tour.
I think he absolutely is. And, you know, that's when you take your chances. Go into the early moves if you're a long way behind, because the riders won't put so much effort in to catch you. But he's not looking like a man to be over 2 hours behind right now. He's climbing well. Now, there is a sight of Alexander Vinokurov, who's also made this breakaway. He hasn't been too happy. Haimar Zubeldia, number 71. He started the day only 12 minutes behind. He's got 7 minutes back. So the peloton behind with the yellow jersey won't want to let him run too far. Now, where would he be, Paul, overall on 7 minutes? He'd be right up in the top 10 now if it was finished at this moment. Composition of the chase group there. Well, everybody is just about everywhere just now. And just coming back up here is Ludovic Turpin of AG2R. They've hooked up as well. They lost their man who gave them some glory last year, Cyril Dessel, today, who finished 7th best Frenchman. He abandoned today.
Well, Garate getting himself back into this race. This is still the lone leader, but not very far behind him. I would say the official time check must not be more than about 15 seconds. And there he is, the T-Mobile rider, Kim Kirken, former champion of Luxembourg, riding across the gap. He's making himself also a very nice move up the overall classification today, Phil, because if he was to finish with a 5-minute gain on the day, he too would be popping inside of the top 10 tonight.
Which is where he was before he started yesterday's stage, but then he got wiped away on the plateau like so many riders did. Well, here comes the referee. We're in trouble now because we're too close to this rider. He doesn't like our camera here as he moves us away, but we're looking back at the big chase. This is the exciting part of the tour right now, Paul. And still, Michael Bogart is setting the pace until he can't do it anymore.
And he's doing some serious damage. Vladimir Karpets has recovered a fraction there. Number 15, you can see just dangling around on the back. John Gadre is over on the right-hand side. Team Discovery Channel have got a great situation here, but so too have Team Astana, because Andreas Kloden is sitting here quite pretty. He's not too worried at all. He's got Andrei Koshekin about 100 meters off the front end.
And this rider here is about to be joined now by the former champion of Luxembourg, Kim Kirchen. This is the beaten-up T-Mobile team this year. They've lost a number of riders. They've got a doping situation with Patrick Sinkovich, nothing to do with the Tour de France, and that also sounds a very strange setup at the moment. They lost Mark Cavendish, he abandoned on stage 8. Michael Rogers, their leader, crashed out on stage 8 as well. And Kim Kirchen, really, on that basis, is the leader of the team now, and here he comes. He's joined a shop. I don't know, about 3 kilometers to climb, I think.
Yeah, just inside of 3 kilometers to go to the summit of this climb. He comes up alongside. He's a very seasoned professional. He turned professional in 2001, Kim Kirchen. He originally turned professional for the Fassa Bortolo squad, but in 2006 came across to T-Mobile. This is the next group on the road, and they are hovering at around about 35 to 40 seconds on these two leaders, who are now starting to get up into the fog at the top. But I still feel in the main group behind, I think Michael Rasmussen is going to come under some serious attacks once we get to the Col de la Peyresourde.
I think he's got to now, because the team has been forced to thin out everybody. They've worked so hard, there's nobody left there except one, and Schopp can't manage the pace here of Kirchen. Kirchen pushing on a little bit. Well, he has had great form all year, this rider, in all of the single-day classics as well. He's always been at the head of the peloton. There's the summit, and it looks as though we need a parachute to go off this one.
Well, the riders are climbing up here through that fog bank over the summit of the Porte Balança. Not too far away is Spain. It's amazing that the fog seems to be on that side of the Pyrenees. Over here where we are at the finish line, it is clear as a bell, and hopefully today the riders are going to leave that fog and that snow behind them.
Arroyo knows all about going off the edge this year too, as he did coming down the Cormet de Rosalind, but he hasn't affected his confidence.
Well, he starts the day in 19th place overall, and that nasty crash that he had with Michael Rogers on that day doesn't seem to have affected his form at all. Strangely enough, Michael Rogers' crash didn't seem to be as bad as this man's. He went right off the edge, but he had the soft landing. Mick Rogers, I think, probably hit the barrier at the side of the road, and that's what dislocated his shoulder.
So sad.
And that was a very sad day, I have to say, for Australian cycling, because at that point, Michael Rogers was leader on the road. 1 kilometer to the summit.
Well, Kim Kirchen and Schopp are probably going to stay clear to the summit, but I could just see in the fog there, Paul, and he's coming. He's not that far behind here, David Arroyo. That could put 3 riders together for the descent, as we will then race down towards Luchon, and then we'll go up the Col de Peyresourde.
Well, the Col de Peyresourde itself, a very famous climb in the Tour. It's not as long as this one. It's a 10-kilometer climb, but it's an awful lot steeper. It's an average gradient of 8%. Kim Kirchen not showing any emotion at all here, as he just keeps tapping out that rhythm, thinking about a stage victory for T-Mobile. They've had one T-Mobile victory so far, and that was Linus Gerdemann, a name we hadn't really talked about before the start of the Tour de France. But he got himself not only a yellow jersey, but he also got himself the lead in the white jersey competition too. Navarro, he's dropping backwards.
Well, he was also up there as well, and there's being swept up here, so that's one rider from the breakaway washed away. Every rider they catch eases into the point score for the all-category climb, and Bogart still on the front here doing all of the work, trying to protect the yellow jersey of Rasmussen. But I feel today that at some stage Rasmussen is going to be tested.
Well, look at Chris Horner over there on the right-hand side. He's another man who is super motivated in the Tour de France this year, because although he himself is riding his best ever Tour, starting the day in 17th place overall, he's not even thinking about his own performance. He's thinking about Cadel Evans. He's the pilot fish for Cadel Evans. He said, I'm saving energy whenever I can, because I know at some time or another I'm going to have to help Cadel in a critical moment.
But maybe today, he may be having to lead Cadel into the attack today to try and close that gap a little bit on Rasmussen. The flags of Brittany on the left. That's where we go for the start of the Tour de France next year, when it will start in France on the west coast. As the crowd thickens now, those red, green and white flags, or Basque flags. There they are. That's what they say is their national flag of Spain. And the Basque riders not in the sprint at the top here, but they're still cheering.
Well, the race situation is a very complicated situation. I make it currently, Phil, there are 19 riders of that leading group of 25 still in front of the yellow jersey group. The two riders we're looking at here, followed by David Arroyo, who's not too far behind, followed by a group of 6 riders, which contains Alexander Vinokourov, followed by a 10-man group as Kirken accelerates away up towards the summit.
I think that makes the points and the money for the prize at the top going to Kim Kirken of Luxembourg. Nice result for T-Mobile. Doesn't affect the way the race is running at the moment. Scott will get second place. Kim will no doubt wait for Johan. They need each other yet. There's one more big climb to come, and once over the top of the next one, you fly. You fly as fast as you can pedal, and just before you're down the Père de Sword, you better make sure you've got good brakes, because you're hairpin off the mountain to turn left to line up for the finish. It is an incredibly sharp corner.
Maximum points then for Kim Kirken over the top, and it's now still 36.5 kilometers to go to the finish. I feel absolutely certain that Johan Schop will make the junction, but they're just coming through the clouds there. You can see the dark figure of David Arroyo. He's also about to make the jump. Well,
there's
just
the cloud,
looking,
Paul, and we're leaving it all behind. Just look at it nestling there. It's lovely, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful there, but now the cloud stays on the top of the climb. We drop away to glorious sunshine, high winds keeping the rain away. Boys should have a nice dry day now as they head down to Luchon and up to the Col de Père de Sword. We've got 3 riders together. They're not affecting the destiny of the yellow jersey, but they all want to win a stage. Alexander Vinokourov here. They've just started the Col de Père de Sword. That's the leaders, and Vinokourov can smell the breakaway. There were 3 riders up there, but in fact they've unhitched the rider Schop, and the other 2, Arroyo and Kirken, are trying to go clear, but the gaps are closing down. The peloton is growing bigger behind, but they're at around about 7 minutes at the moment. So there's still a chance for Vinokourov to take a stage win out of this. Now Bogart went back to the team car to get Waters, and now he's come back up here. We're looking for the whereabouts of Menchov, and in fact Menchov is here now because there are 2 Rabobanks. So all of the contenders that matter now are in this group, which in effect is the 4th chase group on the road just now. Well, what a race we're going to see now, Paul, because Menchov has got into that group and I didn't see him come.
Well, we were off camera. I think there was so much going on with the flurry of attacks by Alexander Vinokourov. We actually may well just have missed that, but it was a sensible move by Team Rabobank to pull him back. After all, we're not thinking about Denis Menchov finishing 10th or 12th in the Tour de France here. We are thinking about winning the race with one man. That's why in this sport, which everybody thinks is an individual sport, it has to be regarded as a team sport, because you cannot win this Tour de France on your own.
As Rasmussen is pointing out graphically today, stripped to just 1 man, they call back Menchov from the breakaway to help him. They're not worried anymore about 191. 191 is Alexander Vinokourov, and he's trying to reach the leaders, and he's doing pretty well. The close Kobo here. This rider is a very, very strong rider. Garate wants to know nothing. He opens the gap, and Vinokourov said, OK, open the gap, I'll shut it down. And that was the end of Garate, the man who's been topping out the climbs. He won the Col de Port. He was 3rd over the Aspet. He won the Col de Monte. He was 4th over the Port de Balès, and now he's been dropped on the Père de Sword. And also in trouble here is Zubeldia.
Well, Zubeldia not thinking about following the accelerations of the younger riders like Kobo. Kobo is 26 years of age. This year he won the Tour of the Basque Country. We're riding very much into the heart of the Basque Country, and he wants to show off how good he is. He's got an incredible acceleration. He only really started well this year, but he's dragging Alexander Vinokourov back into this bike race once again. And look at Vino, he's going again.
They've seen him coming. Arroyo's ready. He spotted it's Vinokourov. He would expect to see Vinokourov of all people. This guy has the heart bigger than his body as he now comes up on the outside here. He's spread eagle the breakaway. Kobo may reach them. He just needs a little bit of a rest. But look at this now. Alexander Vinokourov accelerates because he doesn't want anybody with him. And Arroyo's after him.
Well, I tell you what, Phil, if you are looking for a man who is hard as nails, well, it's Alexander Vinokourov. I should have supposed say hard as stitches, because when he went into the Alpine passes, he had as much as 60 stitches in his body from that accident he had in the first week of the Tour on the road into Autun. And now he's looking at winning his second stage. He won the time trial, got blown away yesterday, and here he is, waving the flag for Kazakhstan and Team Astana.
There'll be no yellow jersey if he wins the stage, but there will be one terrific amount of prestige here. You can hear the crowd shouting his name, Alevino, Alevino. Kobo, I think, he must recover and settle back, and he might get up here. He looks as though he's going to come into it. But I think these are the four that might decide the stage today.
Well, Juan Jose Kobo, he only started coming to the front this year when he took the overall lead in the Tour of the Basque Country on the first stage and grabbed it back on the last stage. I think Michael Rasmussen breathing a sigh of relief. That group, which a little while ago, Phil, was a small group, has swelled in numbers. It's nice to see Cadel Evans on the left-hand side in the pink jersey there with his teammate Chris Horner up alongside him. Horner, I have to say, has been phenomenal in this year's Tour, as too has Alberto Contador and Levi Leipheimer. The attack has to come now, but the advantage is tilted back across to Michael Rasmussen, who's got two very solid and 50 seconds he lost, dropping well out of the top 10. Today, he's back and fighting now. There's the disco move.
Well, as we see a move from Discovery Channel, and it's coming, of course, from Jaroslav Popovic. Who else would it be? The man who always appears to be out has now gone off the front. He's doing exactly what he did yesterday, softening the race up for an attack by either Contador or Leipheimer.
Jaroslav Popovic, 10th in the overall classification, 10 minutes and 55 seconds down. It sounds like a lot, but in this Tour de France, it's not really, because things are changing on every individual stage. Really, I would say that Team Rabobank should not respond to an attack like this, but in fact, what Disco are doing, Phil, is they're taunting them. They're throwing men out, saying, come on then, you're supposed to be strong, control the race like we used to do with Lance Armstrong. But if they do make a mistake and they try and chase him down, that's when the counter move will come from either Contador or Leipheimer.
7 minutes 21. The time gap to the lead is really at the moment a little insignificant, because the in battle for the overall lead of the Tour de France is in this big group. And now Popovic, we saw him climbing like this on the Col d'Ijon. That was a ploy by Discovery Channel for the day. It didn't work out for them then, but as we see Popovic now go clear, let's not forget, at the moment, Vinokourov is looking.
There you can see another move by Alexander Vinokourov.
Well, he's wonderful, isn't he? He's hit him again, and now who's he going to dislodge? He's got Kirken in trouble this time.
Well, Kirken going off the back. He's got those deep carbon fiber wheels. They're great for aerodynamics, but not so good when it goes to going uphill. And he now is on the defensive. A situation like this, you've got to calm yourself down, get into a rhythm, and hope that they slow down, and that's what's happened. Vino wants to get away from this group, Phil. He wants to win this race alone if he can. Come on, lads, let's work together. That's what he was signalling there, and the reason he was signalling, because he wants them to try and work so he can actually hit them again, but they know that.
Of course they know that, and so he's taking a drink instead, and back comes Kim Kirken. Now, the thing is, if it goes down to the finish, it may be a difficult win for Vinokourov.
I think a fine there for T-Mobile, because I just heard the referee's channel there. Taking drinks is finished. Well, he's taken two. That's about 50 Swiss francs a bottle.
Yeah, and a few seconds as well, but it doesn't really matter. It's desperate days now. Kim Kirken up with the leading group. There's only so many infractions you can get before the final one is disqualification from the race, so you've got to be careful. As we see now, Vinokourov's back to setting the pace. Nobody trusting the man from Kazakhstan now, least of all Kobo, and he'll learn, and he'll be lucky too. There won't be many points available, if any, for this group, so they should still be well within reach of the King of the Mountains, separated by only 2 points tonight. The flag of Great Britain there on the right. Sadly, David Miller or Charlie Regalius not in this group as we toil up towards the summit of the Peso. There's Carlos Sastre, and this is Alejandro Valverde.
Well, Valverde just sitting there. He's running out of teammates himself pretty rapidly. That was a nice move, I think, by Jaroslav Popovic. The idea was to try and put pressure once again onto the shoulders of Rabobank. Now there's another move coming here. This is a move here from the rider from Euskadel.
Well, we're seeing attack by Zubeldia here now as he's just tried to liven it up. We've seen the attacks by Vinokurov. This is the head of the race. Kobo straight onto him. I think he's going to hit him straight away. Gone right through him. This is his attack.
A good move. He saw the acceleration, came up to the slipstream of Zubeldia, and Alexander Vinokurov is all over this move this afternoon. He too is not taking any prisoners. He's seen the move and he's gone again. Vinokurov on the left.
He is riding like a man possessed today as he tries now to smash the field and win the day. Vinokurov, when he's in this unstoppable mood, is determined to win and put his name back on the list. Well, he can't win the Tour de France now. He's simply lost too much time. Vinokurov is 34 minutes behind the yellow jersey, and today he may only bring about 7. We are at 15 kilometers to go, and just attacking and going up the road is Alexander Vinokurov. Looking here at the yellow jersey group here, they've now lost Denny Menchov. It's gone. I'm surprised at that, Paul, but Menchov has expended too much energy in the break.
Well, this is what happens when you bury yourself for the team. Then all of a sudden it's as if somebody turns out the lights. The engine room has got no more power at all, and Denny Menchov now has got to drag himself to the top of this climb. Haimar Zubeldia has dislodged Juan Jose Kobo. He is riding to improve his place in the overall classification, but what he really wants is to win in front of a Basque crowd, because over the summit of this mountain here, Phil, it is completely covered with orange t-shirts, and those are the orange t-shirts of the Basque supporters.
He still has a chance here, but he's taking on one of the best opportunists in the world of cycling in Alexander Vinokurov. Covered in stitches, he's crashed, he won the time trial, he lost minutes yesterday. Now what's going on here? That is Frank Schleck, I think, in a spot of bother, as well as he comes back. Sastre is still up there, but when we see his face, Paul, he doesn't look as though he's enjoying it today.
Well, Kurt Adler-Arvidsson is the rider with Frank Schleck, and Arvidsson was again a man in that leading break of 25 riders. He's dropped back, and he now is being put into a situation where he's trying to defend the position of his team leader. Schleck is not having a great tour, 25th overall. Not the Giro d'Italia that his brother Andy Schleck has at all.
No, he finished second in his first attempt, and he's in this race next year, but that's another tale to come. 6:15 the gap, they're not going to catch up. The flag there of Australia alongside Vinokurov. Very popular man in every country because everybody loves a fighter.
And a fighter he certainly is. He's been up and down really like a boxer this last 15 days of racing. He was on the ground in Autun, then he bounced back for the individual time trial, then he was on the ground again yesterday. There's been so many times, Phil, throughout the Tour de France that I thought that Alexander Vinokurov is going to abandon the race, but that's not knowing the man. That's not knowing the courage that he shows, and the fact that he wants to ride this Tour de France right the way through to the Champs-Élysées and Paris.
And I'll tell you what, Zubeldia there could well find himself in the top 10 tonight. With the most to gain, he won't worry Rasmussen, Contador, Evans or Leipheimer, but he will move up, possibly into the top 10 if the gaps stay until cheering on Alexander Vinokurov. That will get the adrenaline going for the man now as he comes to the summit of the Peyresourde.
And the amazing thing is, people, everyone has followed this man's story throughout this last 10, 15 days of the Tour de France. They know what he's been through. They don't care if he's from Spain or France or Belgium or anywhere. What they care about is what this man has done for the sport to stay in the Tour de France, to battle through all of the bad luck that he has. And now he's actually got this big flag that he's waving for Kazakhstan, and the Minister of the Interior came to visit the Tour a little while ago and said that Astana were going to sponsor the team for the next 10 years.
Well, it's nice to know you can get paid for the next 10 years. I suspect that Vinokurov will be the manager of the team as time goes on, because he hasn't got a lot of racing left in his body. He felt that this was the year for the Tour and probably his last shot at it. That's gone, but a stage win is just over the ridge here for him, and the crowd are doing everything they can to urge him over to the finish.
Well, this man, he did everything right for the Tour de France this year. He said he sacrificed everything for the Tour. He's got 31 seconds advantage now over Haimar Zubeldia, and somewhere around the corner he's going to see the summit of the Col de la Peyresourde. He actually said, Phil, when he was devastated yesterday, that he didn't think he could come back to the Tour to try and win it again. So hard and so dedicated had been his approach to the Tour de France this year. He felt that he'd given his absolute all, and that's why he won't give up. That's why he's looking for every little bit of glory in the 2007 Tour. 0.11 kilometers to go to the summit. From there, that banner, it's 12 kilometers to go to the end.
And 10 of those kilometres are downhill, maybe even nearly 11 of them. As he now gets to the top, it's time to zip up for the long descent. It is a very, very fast descent on this side. It's a very good road surface. Vinokurov tops the last climb of the day. Now, this is further down here. Kim Kirken has picked up Zubeldia, has he?
Well, Kim Kirken
he's
managed to get his rhythm back. He's managed to recover. He didn't panic at all. That's the way the thing goes on a climb like this. You can have a bad moment, you recuperate, you find your rhythm, and then all of a sudden you recover.
At the summit of the Col de Peyresourde, over the top has gone Vinokurov. About 28 seconds later, Zubeldia here has been joined by Kim Kirken. Still climbing are all of the favourites. They're under the escort of Michael Bogart, Paul, and they have not attacked the lead.
Which is being led once again by Michael Bogart. I have to say, Phil, that every one of the top 9 riders is in that group. Not one man has made a move to attack Michael Rasmussen, but he's going himself.
Well, Contador has hit him. Contador's left it a little bit late, but there's still time here. And that was a very slow reaction from Rasmussen. He wasn't expecting it. He thought it was all over for the day.
Well, he thought that was it, and he's seen the move from Alberto Contador. You see every one of those riders. That's why nobody attacked today. They were all on the rivet. And look at Michael Rasmussen coming up to Alberto Contador. He's on his wheel.
And Contador double takes both sides of his shoulders. Now he's caught him. He'll probably say, all right, well, I'm stopping racing now if you're coming up to me. That was a good reaction, but a little bit late, but he was there in the end.
Well, he didn't think anyone was going to attack, looks over his shoulder, wants to know what kind of damage was being done. But that's, Phil, the explanation as to why nobody attacked at all. They were all on the rivet. They were all on the maximum until that man in the white jersey attacked.
And the man who put them there, Michael Bogart, today with terrific riding. They may as well ride. They're both gaining time. They're first and second overall in the classification. Why wait for anybody else just now?
Michael Bogart, he has done everything correctly this afternoon. He's been alongside his leader the whole of the afternoon. Every time that he's been asked to set the pace, he's come forward to do it. But look at the damage this move has done, and again it's Contador wants this.
Oh, what a great plucky rider he is here. Contador testing him again, and he's again forcing Rasmussen, who seems to have the answer in those long, thin legs, as he tries to keep that white jersey in sight. This kid, 24 years of age, his first ever Tour de France. Johan Brunel has said it. He may not win the Tour this year, but he will win it one day.
Well, he's not going to give this Tour de France to Michael Rasmussen. Don't forget, we've got another big mountain-top finish to come when we go up to the summit of the Aubisque, and that may well be the move that will come from this man here. He's inside there. I didn't see the banner there, but he's not far from the summit here of the Col de l'Aubisque. He really is a phenomenal rider. I think it was the 1 kilometre to go banner.
It was, and look at this. They've got time here on the field. They should keep on riding here. And they can make it a 2-horse battle as we go to the Aubisque the day after tomorrow. And it's the 3rd time he's hit him. He's just such an aggressive rider.
I tell you what, Michael Rasmussen is really struggling here. You see how his shoulders are starting to bow down, and I've got a funny feeling that Alberto Contador knows this. He's finally put a little bit of space between himself and the yellow jersey of Michael Rasmussen. This, Phil, is the pressure of wearing the yellow jersey. Contador has cracked him.
He has. He sat down, but he knows he's nearly at the summit here. The damage is limited. Why, oh why, didn't Alberto Contador do this 10 kilometres from the top? Then he might have gone clear, because Rasmussen knows he can control this.
Well, Rasmussen is not panicking. He's got to ride himself back, but as we go around the steep part of the corner, Contador gets out of the saddle again, and another kick.
How many bullets has he got in this gun? This is the 4th kick by Rasmussen. They're wiping out now shop as they go past him.
Well, this is the first time, Phil, we've actually seen any weakness at all in Michael Rasmussen. Let's not forget, tomorrow's a rest day, then we come out to play again in the Pyrenees the day after this. This young man, Alberto Contador, he is just trying to break the spirit here of Michael Rasmussen. Rasmussen comes up alongside him. Psychologically, I think he was trying to say, oh, come on, let's work together. We can work this one out. But no way. Alberto Contador knows he's got him on the end of the hook.
4 attacks, but he's still 4-0 because he got nothing out of it. Now he's going to wait, because once over the top, it doesn't favour the attacking Contador anymore. It's down the finish. And let us not forget that, as far as we know, Vinokurov is speeding to the finish, but this is the race. Our cameras are rightly staying here.
Phil, when was the last time you ever
Again,
saw a
5.
track stand on a mountain like this? And this is another move because Michael Rasmussen, it's a little bit too short, this mountain, but this man, Contador, knows he's got him. It's a bit too close to the summit of the climb to get any big time gaps this afternoon.
Well,
but this is a psychological blow. They're in the confusion at the top. They're catching riders in front of them.
And this is what should not be happening. Nobody is. The neutral service is out of the way. Here we go. Well, there's George Hincapie. These are the guys who are being picked up from the breakaway. Hincapie looking over, seeing that it's his teammate Contador, and Hincapie's found his second life because now he can lead this man on the descent. We are over the top of the climb, and they are back together. But Paul, just look now, George Hincapie, he's suddenly got his second win now. He's got Alberto there.
Well, George Hincapie will dig very deep into his reserves now, and he will go down this mountain like a man possessed. Because, yes, we have seen that Alberto Contador has put Michael Rasmussen into a spot of difficulty, but what he's also done is put time between himself and Cadel Evans. Levi Leipheimer is there. He's not going to move at all, but they're putting time between themselves and all of the other riders in the top 9 in the overall classification. And I think Alberto Contador will come out and fight again.
Well, Cadel Evans here looking far from happy. It's not been a great 2 days in the mountains because he now has to start chasing down the mountain. So Cadel Evans looks over his shoulder. They're all on the chase down, and they're not too sure how to cope. 8 days of Raymond Poulidor and Jacques Anquetil when they always went mano a mano. And here we are now, the tricky descent here. He's still there, doing it all for himself, unaware of the fireworks behind. This man should have been involved in the fireworks for the win in the Tour de France. The bookies odds-on favourite. It never happened. He's now looking for a consolation prize, which will be a stage win. We are going under the banner, 3 kilometres to go, and the bends get a little bit tight down here now, but nonetheless Alexander Vinokourov is still clear and racing for the stage win.
And if you look at the second group on the road, Phil, riding like this, they're not going to see the man from Kazakhstan again because he is giving all kind of risks going round those corners. He really is a man possessed here this afternoon. He's gone round those corners at maximum speed. The sad thing is there's a nasty little climb at 1.5 kilometres to go, but I think he might take off the speed he's going.
I think he could use it as a speed ramp, absolutely, because this is going to be a road race win for Alexander Vinokourov. He got the time trial win on Saturday, completely blew up, and he even crashed yesterday on the way up, by the way. He hit a spectator and lost just a few more seconds, but really he was losing big time anyway.
Well, I think this indicates the kind of form that he had coming into the Tour de France. We got a glimpse of that form in the Dauphiné Libéré, and you can see there Haimar Zubeldia said, I'm off, mate, I need all the time, I don't want to lose anything on this tricky little run into Loudonvielle.
Well, Vinokourov hunting for what would be his 5th stage win in the Tour de France. He's won the time trial, as I say, on Saturday. He's looking for the second win here. He's now got 2 kilometres to go. Just a little bit more descending, then a slight kick. Well, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You can't say anyway. His hat goes on the back of his head here. He just daren't look over his shoulder.
Well, right now he's just got to get over the summit of this climb. He's actually, Phil, not got very much to worry about at all because his time gap is around about 52 seconds to the 3 chains. Summit of this climb at 1.5 kilometres to go. He'll drop down a fraction and then he's got to run into the finish line. He doesn't need to worry about any time in this Tour de France this afternoon because he's a long way down in the overall classification. But what he's going for here is glory.
Alexander Vinokourov now is cresting the hill, and he's not cresting the Tour de France, but he is back. His name still very much part of this big race. This is the carnage behind here. Kim Kirken being escorted by Kobo because Zubeldia has nipped away.
Well, Zubeldia at the end of the day is not going to win the stage here this afternoon, Phil, but he's going to make a nice leap up the overall classification, and he may well even overtake his own teammate, Mikel Astroloza, who is in 8th place at the start of the day. But George Hincapie is here, and I'm just having a look to see, this is amazing because George Hincapie is swapping turns there with his teammate Alberto Contador.
And both of the riders, 1st and 2nd overall in the Tour de France in the last kilometres of the day, are gaining time over Evans, Leipheimer, Kloden and Sastre left behind in that group. The interest really is here for the stage one, but it's back there with the top 2 riders of the Tour, again showing us they are also the best climbers of this race. This is the bravest attack we have seen. The man who has had so many stitches in his arms and legs. He's come back. He's at 1 kilometre to go. He won the time trial. We thought he was going to be back in the Tour de France, but he couldn't handle yesterday. He completely blew up. He waved at the cameras, and now another day in the Pyrenees. He's going to win it.
Well, he's going to wave in a different fashion when he crosses the line here, Phil, in less than a minute's time, because this man is absolutely storming, and he's got the time to enjoy that victory. And I think when he goes out the day after the rest day, he's going to have a massive number of supporters on the roads of the Tour de France, because this is the performance of a champion here this afternoon, and he's still not giving up. He's going to battle it all the way to the line. One last check, the true professional, and inside the last few metres.
And I don't blame him, but he's on his way now. He flicks up towards the line. The big crowd here are going to salute Alexander Vinokourov, the man who refuses to die. He's won at Gap, he's won at Briançon, he's won at Paris, he's won at Albi, and now he can add Val Thorens at Ludon-Biel, because he's won here as well. Where he sits tonight overall won't matter, because he's still a Tour de France favourite.
Well, I think that face told it all. He really enjoyed that victory, and that was one that was a really special victory that he took out of the bag here this afternoon. These are second and third place riders on the road. Kim Kirken in first place, Haimar Zubeldia in second. Zubeldia is going to make a nice move up the overall classification, because Michael Rasmussen is still 5.5 minutes behind.
Well, Zubeldia is somewhat desperate here, because he's a Basque and a lot of these people are Spanish. He'll be worried about Kobo as well in the backdrop. He won't help Kirken, because he desperately wants second place, and he'll hope he can take him in the jump. Kirken is leading to the line, because he possibly has got a top 10 standing again tonight. He's got to open the sprint, and he goes, but can the Basque rider get round him? I'm not so sure he can here, because Kirken driving on, and Kirken gets in. There is nothing left in Zubeldia, and Kobo is fourth.
Yep, but the next riders to come through are going to be Michael Rasmussen, Alberto Contador, and George Hincapie. We'll have to wait around about 4 minutes before they come into the line, and here they are. This is the big battle. Hincapie is going ballistic around these corners, because he knows now that Alberto Contador has got a big chance to put time between himself and Cadel Evans and Andreas Kloden, who are the big men who are dangerous to him in the individual time trial. And the way Michael Rasmussen handled the climb today, Phil, I wonder if tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, when we go to the Obisque, he's going to be in serious difficulty.
Well, we'll find out, because they've hit him hard today, but it looks as though Contador is the man for the mountains on the team, that's for sure. Such an aggressive rider. Meanwhile, down here, time for a little bit of a wash and a change. Nobody else has come in, by the way. We've only got 4. We don't know how many surviving behind, but I think pretty soon we are going to see the arrival of Contador and George Hincapie. And
so ready for this, and he accelerates the line, but look at the face of Michael Rasmussen. It's a face of concentration, a face of a man today who has not had his best day in the Tour.
No, but he's hit him and he survived, and I take credit for that for Michael Rasmussen. I think they crossed in 8th and 9th, but I'm not sure, because the cameras aren't showing us every finisher. Here comes George Hincapie. Job done, George. He's pulled them away, then let them fight it out. What a brilliant piece of riding by the champion of the USA, because the group behind, and here they are, they're going to lose best part of a minute here, I think, as they run up towards the line. Kloden, Kashikin, Evans, Leipheimer. Where is Leipheimer? Oh, there he is, here hiding behind, as he knows his teammate again has stolen a march over these. There won't be any change in the top 7 riders tonight, top 8 in fact, Astalozza is here. But the time gaps will have opened between Rasmussen, Contador and the rest, as again Cadel Evans going for the sprint. Sadly, no time bonuses. Cadel Evans leads them home, and the whole field again has been battered.
Alexander Vinokourov is a man who you cannot put down.
Well, he got into the move at 45 kilometres into the stage, so 146 kilometres was the breakaway, and that is a long way to stay clear. And he owes a big debt of thanks to Sergei Ivanov, his teammate, who put him into the leaders before he dropped out. There's the situation on the day's result. 5.5 hours today, and very quick it was too on the schedules. Kim Kirken second, Zubeldia, these are 51 seconds, Kobo 4th, and Juan Manuel Garate in 5th at 2 minutes 14. Then came David Arroyo, Bernard Cole, they were in the original break. Christian van der Velde taking 8th at 4:25. Well-deserved result for Christian. Ludovic Turpin in 9th, and Alberto Contador best of the rest, and some rest that is, and he comes in 10th place. With him at 5:31 was Rasmussen, locked together. Hincapie caused a lot of damage before he fell back to 12th. Cadel Evans losing big time there, Paul, almost a minute.
Big minute for Cadel Evans, and that may well tip the scales towards the advantage of Alberto Contador and, of course, Michael Rasmussen. Looking further down, Levi Leipheimer was in that group at 6:27 with Andreas Kloden and Alejandro Valverde, Carlos Sastre. All of the top 9 riders pretty much in that group behind there. Looking a bit further down, there you can see Johann Schopp. He survived at the end of the day, and I have to say Chris Horner at 24th place, 7:05 back, is doing an absolutely fabulous job.
Top 2 stay together, the same time gap, 2:23. Evans now goes back to 4 minutes. Leipheimer holds 4th, goes back to 5:25. Kloden holds 5th, Paul, back to 5:34.
We're starting to see big gaps now. Carlos Sastre, 6:46. The big mover up of the day was Haimar Zubeldia, up into 7th place at 7:27. Kashekin 8th. Kim Kirken gets into the top 10 as well with his ride this afternoon, and Mikel Astroloza down a fraction. Alejandro Valverde also moving outside the top 10.
Four major mountains that could decide the final winner of the Tour de France when we get down to Paris. The giant Col d'Aubisque awaits the Tour today. It'll be the 69th climb of the Tour de France in history on the Aubisque. Well, the scene is set, the weather is good, the mountains are high, and we go forward without Team Astana. Vinokurov proved to be cheating, is out of the Tour. The field is down to 151, but Paul, we have a great battle ahead of us.
The race is 218 kilometres in length today, but it's certainly not a flat route. The riders move away from the town of Orthez and make a slight incursion for 52 kilometres into Spain. But just have a quick look here at the route. The Col de Laro at 1,500 metres, Alto Lazat. And then they go over the Col de la Pierre Saint-Martin and the Col de Marie Blanc, which is a very steep climb down towards the end, before finally ascending the Col de l'Aubisque. And that is the profile of what the riders look for. 2 outside category climbs, 2 first category climbs, and a 3rd.
It's a real vicious route. In fact, it's the distance between Tacoma and Portland, Oregon, 138 miles. Last time we finished on the Col d'Aubisque, Paul Sherwin was in the race. That was 1985. First category climb. First we have 1 category 3 climb, as Paul has said, the 2 category 1 climbs and the 2 beyond category climbs, finishing on the big one of them all, the Col d'Aubisque. Let's take a look first of all how it all began today. There is the yellow jersey of Michael Rasmussen heading off, and then the rest of the field staying behind. This is a protest by some of the teams here because they want a clean Tour de France. Well, I'm sure the organisation is on their side. So a slight delay before the riders began to move away from the start line and get down to what is the Queen stage, as they say, the toughest stage of this year's Tour de France. And I can tell you the race is on from the gun. 4 riders getting away after 8 kilometres. Ogier, Verdugo, Garcia da Costa and Renero. Maxim lead at the moment, approaching 9 minutes. And then when they got on the climb of the Port de Laro, after a lot of work by Barlow Whirlpool, this man has gone clear of the field. Mauricio Sola, he wants the king of the mountains.
Well, this is a very difficult way to get it, but this man decided he wasn't going to wait until we got higher up the mountain. He decided to attack right from the very start of the climb.
Well, let's have a look then where we are now. This is the all-category climb at the Port de Laro. Temperature today, nice 71 degrees. It'll be a little bit chillier on the tops. Conditions clear, blue skies and sunny. Very light wind, the perfect day for a rally through the Pyrenees. Let's go back to the action now, and it looks as though we're picking up, and I'm not sure where we've gone here, but I think this rider is slightly off the back of the pack.
Well, there's a lot of excitement at the front end of the main field. We've just seen a small attack of Carlos Sastre, Juan Mauricio Soler and Ahmet Cheruka going off the front end of the main field, and trying to go across the gap here is Sergio Paulinho. I think he's going across to try and make him a representation in that breakaway Group 4 Team Discovery Channel.
Well, there's no doubt Discovery Channel have yet another plan today. They're going to try and dislodge using both Levi Leipheimer and Contador to get rid of Rasmussen. And this is the first blow here as Paulinho goes forward. They have broken this field up already on this climb because poor old Michael Rasmussen, Paul, he's going to be hit from every angle today.
Every quarter. This is Jaroslav Popovic with Iban Mayo. They're all looking for the opportunity here this afternoon to put some pressure onto Team Rabobank, and what a way to do it very early on the first big climb of the day. They've decided this is it. We're not going to wait until the final climb of the Obisque to lay the foundations for a very difficult attack and ascent of the Col de l'Aubisque. The aggression has to start right now.
Well, the big field, a lot of riders already in trouble at the back. We've heard a lot of names called as they've been dropping off the back of the field. The four leaders nobody's really worried about. The closest to them is 1 hour 41 minutes behind. That's Gorka Verdugo in that four-man breakaway. This is where the action, they've been waiting for the climb of the Porte de l'Arroux. And when they get to the top, they still have 139 kilometers to race. So there could be devastation in the fields today. The riders who are being dropped now may well be eliminated by the end of this stage.
The only thing that's going to save those riders dropped very early on is the fact that this is a very long stage. I think we're probably looking at around about 6.5 hours in the saddle, so we could be looking at an elimination time of something like 45 minutes, and they'll need every one of those 45 minutes, Phil, to get into the elimination time, because this is going to be a very hard stage. Carlos Sastre has had a very quiet tour, but today he's taking the opportunity to try and get himself into this race.
Well, Sastre's making his move. This is his last chance, really, to head for a podium place, because he's not a great time trialist. And so he's got to get time today in the Pyrenees if he wants a podium place on Sunday. And the riders coming up from Discovery Channel here now, Paulinho and Pop. There's a little look at the back, so no early move from the yellow jersey. Rabobank have had to take control of the head of the peloton. They were very happy early on when it was Barlow World doing all the work, because Barlow World launched their man in the polka dot up in front. So Rasmussen is trying to defend two competition leads here, and he's going to have to take the decision to let the polka dot go because he wants the yellow.
He's going to have to just let it go by, because he has to concentrate on the yellow jersey this afternoon. If he starts to try and defend two competitions, he will lose both of them, I think, by the end of the day. I just caught a quick glimpse there in the field of David Miller, the British rider. He's actually riding, Phil, with long leg warmers on today because of this big problem that he's got with his allergy to the sun.
That really is sad. And it looks though Chiruka there, Paul, is also being dropped off here. He started the move, and the arrival of the two Discovery boys as they try to get up to the leaders. Chiruka was with those leaders, falling back early on today. He's only a young man in his first tour. He's been pretty good in the mountains, but it may be he's getting a bit tired on this last day.
Well, Team Discovery are obviously playing their cards very early on, Phil, because they've decided not only to send Sergio Paulinho in the breakaway move, but they've also sent Jaroslav Popovic, who in the last week of this race really seems to be riding himself into seriously good condition. It's going to put pressure on Team Rabobank right from the very start of today.
The Tour de France on the first big mountain of the day, the Porte de l'Arroux, which will take us through to 139 kilometers to race. They've got 8 kilometers still to climb. Three leaders here. Sastre at the front at the moment. Soler in the polka dot jersey, he made the attack, and Iban Mayo, who's also gone up. These are the riders now who are in the move behind. We've also got, trying to get up to them now, to the Discovery Channel duo of Popovic and Paulinho. There's a few details for you. This is a tough climb, an average gradient of 8%, and we're up to 5,100 feet by the top. 9 miles long. This is a very, very tough day today, and a lot of decisions will be made, I think. A lot of riders will be in trouble too, I'm sure of that, because they've been dropping off already on the lower slopes. Glad the dog was tied up there. Pyrenean mountain dog, I think it was. As these two leaders here continue towards the summit. When you see the cameras low, you get some idea just how steep the climb is. Not too far away now, just on half a kilometre from the summit of the climb. They're holding off 4:29. That's on the yellow jersey group, which is down to about 22 riders. And then we've got Sastre's group in between. He's about 2 minutes behind the second group and 3 minutes behind that group. There's a look at the Rabobank boys, again being forced to make the pace. Thomas Dekker on the front. And, well, if they keep this up, will there be any Rabobanks to take Rasmussen onto the rest of the climbs?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, Phil, there's a lot of strange information being fed through the race computer. It would seem to me that Sergio Paulinho is still in front of this group of the yellow jersey. And I just caught a quick glimpse there of Jaroslav Popovic. And he's one of the Discovery Channel riders who went out early on. There are the two leaders of Team Discovery Channel. The white jersey just going over to the left there was Alberto Contador. There's Levi Leipheimer. And also moving up there on the far side, looks like Cadel Evans.
Yeah, that's Cadel Evans concentrating, the tongue out there for Thomas Voigtler, who seems to have found himself a good ride today. Maybe he's come out fighting today.
Tricky Beltran has got a problem.
Beltran's the guy with his hand.
Does get the 5th place over the summit there, Phil. Will put him into the lead by 10 points in this competition. And there's the acceleration coming from Verdugo.
So that's a good acceleration from Gorka Verdugo. Euskaltel Euskadi to the cheers of the crowd. He hasn't beat Vicente Garcia Acosta just yet, but he probably will. This is the big sprint up to the finish now, and look at that, well done Garcia Acosta, such a gritty bike rider over the top of Verdugo. He gets maximum points, a little feather in his cap there for Garcia Acosta over the top of the climb. So second is Verdugo, and there'll be a little bit of a gap now before the next two follow, and quite a considerable gap before we see Sola come over, presumably, and Verdugo. They got the first 2 places. 5th place was Soler.
Just a quick glimpse on the road sign there, Pamplona, and that's where the race went last time the race came over this climb, and that was way back in 1996. We're looking and waiting for the yellow jersey group to pop around that corner, and there they are. Michael Rasmussen surrounded by his teammates. You may notice that all of the time, right next to Michael Rasmussen is Alberto Contador, and I think he's already starting, Phil, some kind of a psychological battle against the yellow jersey, as if to say, look at the way my legs are turning here this afternoon, look how good I am, and I've got my teammate Levi Leipheimer alongside me as well. We are going to do some serious damage to you later on today.
Riders here, maybe more. They've all been coming back steadily after the descent of the Porte Laro, but at about 5 kilometers, the leaders are at least from starting the climb of the Pierre Saint-Martin. And the last man on there was Moses Jonas Navarro. He got back on there for the Agritubal team. But just look at that. And there were only 22 left after the climb of the Porte Laro, but lucky for these boys, they did slow down. We have 7 leaders up front as the gaps continue to open here. Just looking at around about 5 minutes or less. It's come down slightly. There has been a reaction because they realise Sastre is now caught up with the leaders. See how all the teams get themselves together in team formation here. It's amazing how they watch after each other. This is the work now being done by Rabobank, and the man doing most of it, Juan Antonio Fletcher. He won't be seeing the finish today with this group, but he's now really seriously chasing Carlos Sastre, trying to bring Fletcher here. Paul, I think Rabobank have been told they've got to reduce that gap because Sastre's got himself to the head of the race. There he is, number 31, and the gap has come down to 4:15 now.
Yeah, but at the moment, Carlos Sastre is almost threatening the time of Alberto Contador. But I think all of the other teams are just going to sit back and leave the responsibility of that chase right on the shoulders of Team Rabobank, because then once the team starts to weaken down towards the end, there's a lot of teams now, Phil, there, because of the slowing down we've had along the Valley Road, have actually increased their numbers. I noticed about 6 riders from Team Discovery Channel, 5 riders from Team CSC, all riding together, all waiting for the next phase of this race. And Felix Cardenas there at the back there, he's in fact improving once he's got into the Pyrenees, probably bolstered by the fact that his countryman Juan Mauricio Soler is in the leading group of 7.
Well, there he is, Sastre. This is his 1 ace card today because he's not a great time trialist. His Tour de France really ends today shooting at number 1 in Paris, and that's why he's playing the card now, and he's doing all of the work here. And at the moment it's going well, but there's an awful long way to go. Not so much in the kilometres, but in the climbing section of the course.
No, definitely. That is the big problem with this course today, because it really is a brute of a stage. And I wonder how Michael Rasmussen's psyche is, if he's thinking about the attacks that he was subjected to by Alberto Contador a few days ago on the slopes of the Col de la Pera Sur, because I really do believe, Phil, that on that occasion he was put under serious difficulty by the attacks of the young Spaniard.
Yes, and I think we're going to see a lot of those attacks on the last climb of the day. They're marking each other and they're riding side by side. As far as they're concerned, the Tour de France will be decided on the last climb of the day, the Col d'Aubisque. If they neutralise it and finish fairly close together, then it'll go to the time trial on Saturday. But there's the gaps for you. The peloton at 4:44 now, and still under the escort of Thomas Dekker of Rabobank. He can't do this for much longer, but he really is doing a wonderful job.
Well, he can probably do it up until the summit of this climb, but he's going to have a very sore body once he goes to the slopes of the Col de la Marie Blanque. This is a phenomenal part of the world for which the Tour de France doesn't really visit on very many occasions, especially over this side of the Pyrenees. And I think that's why the Basques have turned out in their thousands to enjoy the race coming through here. And they'll be very happy to see this breakaway of 5, because although we've got a Colombian setting the pace on the front there, these are all Spanish speakers.
Well, at least he's setting the pace now. As we get up towards the summit, he's given Sastre a little bit of respite. There's the banner. And I don't think anybody will challenge him, because they're not in the King of the Mountains. Garcia da Costa's hanging on. But the man in the polka dot jersey gets himself, is it 10 points now, Paul, at the top of this, which will move him a little bit more clear of Rasmussen as he comes up to the summit. The rest of the riders saluting the King of the Mountains elect. He's now a leader in this competition, though he's worn the jersey for more than a week on loan from Michael Rasmussen. Maximum points, job done. Let's get over to the Col du Marie Blanc.
Well, he picks himself up a nice at 10 points there. He's got another 10 points to try and grab once he gets to the summit of the Col du Marie Blanc. And then he has to think about what's going to happen at the finish of the stage, because there are 40 points available for the first rider to get to the summit of the Col de l'Aubisque. And if that is Michael Rasmussen, that's going to put Rasmussen right back into the King of the Mountains race.
Absolutely. So it won't be over till the very end of the day. If it's over then, in the work. But really, it's in favour of Soler to go and give him a little bit of a hand and a breather at the back.
Thomas Voeckler at the back going to the team cars. He's just having a quick look to see what the injuries are to Jens Voigt, but Voigt is back in the main field there, just making the junction. I agree with you, Phil. Not only does Soler need to go to the front, but he is doing a fair bit of pace making with the man on the front, Carlos Sastre. I'm surprised that Iban Mayo has not gone forward to do a little bit, because if they can build a big advantage, Mayo has got himself a very good chance of winning the stage. Let's not forget he's a former winner at Alpe d'Huez, and this would be the sort of finish that could suit
riders in front, and the peloton is just on 4 minutes, nearly 4 minutes behind, but they're coming back again now. Actually, this is a fine piece of tempo riding by Thomas Dekker, because he's eating into this breakaway's lead, even though occasionally Soler is helping out Sastre. The other boys are not helping at all, and so sooner or later they'll probably try to go alone. I think they're making a mistake.
Well, they're approaching now the start of the Col de la Marie Blanque, and Carlos Sastre has certainly put everything into this move here this afternoon. This is the early start of the climb. Vicente Garcia Acosta has been pretty much sitting at the back end of the group, but I'd have to say of this group here of 5 riders, Phil, he's probably one of the weaker climbers.
Well, lovely crowd, Norwegian flag on the right, as we're now deep into France again, having been visiting Spain earlier on. The Col de Marie Blanque, first category climb in miles. It's 5.8 miles long, an average gradient 7.4. When we get to the top, where it'll be 38 kilometers to ride to the finish. So the Col de Marie Blanque, in feet, it takes us up to just on 3,400 feet.
But it's a nasty climb as the riders in this leading group of 5 now go through the small town of Escaut. I think Vicente Garcia Acosta is starting to wonder how he's going to handle this climb of the Col de la Marie Blanque. And it really is a very narrow climb. It's one of the narrowest climbs that we've been through and will have been over on today's stage. And up at the top, it really is very narrow and very steep, and there's a fairly dangerous descent off it.
Ooh, a very tight corner there. In fact, Soler seemed to have a double take. There's the official start now. 9 kilometers to the summit for the Marie Blanque. Already looks a bit barren up here, doesn't it? And so Soler now back in his playground at the front. Climb just down in the valley there. They saw 9 kilometers to go to the top. This is the breakaway group. This is the bunch here, still a big bunch. Well, the man on the whip end of the peloton here is our faller coming off the previous hill, Alessandro Ballan. Not feeling too well. Now there's an interesting shot. I hope we're not too close to this helicopter. There's one that photographs another.
stretched out into a very long line, as we can see there is Thomas Dekker pulling off, the job done for the day. And what it's almost as if he's put his bike into reverse there. He's going to have to try and survive. It's so difficult.
So hard.
Once you turn off like that, you've still got to muster the strength and find the energy to get yourself to the finish of the race.
He gritted his teeth when he saw that 9 kilometres signboard at the start of the climb, and he still kept on going for another half a kilometre, and then that was it. Well, he's got to get home now, otherwise he won't live to fight another day. But at least if he does get home, tomorrow will be a little bit easier.
Well, there he is. Good job. Congratulations from one of the other professionals in the race.
Balan, yeah. That's very nice. Now he's just going to sit up, and he's done a terrific job today. 23 years of age. In his first Tour de France, he acts like a real old professional bike rider, this young man. One day, he could be riding for that yellow jersey himself. He is a great talent. He's won a lot of races. He's a product of the Rabobank nursery school. They brought him right through from being a schoolboy, and every schoolboy's ambition in Rabobank is to ride for the Pro Tour team.
He's been riding this way, but you can see that big Colombian is all over his bike now. He's waiting, he's looking round the corner, he's trying to see through the crowd as to where is the banner over the road which indicates the summit of the climb. It's only about 150 meters away from here, but he still hasn't seen it. But he's waiting to get himself another 15 points in the bag, and this will be a great operation for him. He's a rider we didn't even talk about before the start of the Tour de France, and then all of a sudden, when he got that victory into Briançon, we started talking about him as being the next big climber.
Well, once we're over the top, it is 12 kilometres, most of it downhill to the bottom of the Aubisque via the sprint in Larens. Here we come, and more points in the bag, and Verdugo, little inspired effort, is hugged up on the back.
Well, that's another 15 points in the bag there for Soler. He's grabbed himself through the course of today, 42 points, and that's going to put him right up in the overall standings, because the man in the yellow jersey, I think today, will be looking just to consolidate his yellow jersey position. Halgon now is suffering with the steepness of this climb. It really is an unbelievable climb, the Col de Mary Blanc.
Again, he too might get up. Well, all the main contenders still in this peloton, which Halgan has just been unleashed from. Sastre is the only danger man who's got away. He's been away most of the day, but he's not going anywhere just now, is he? As this field is slowly
down to a very select group, and Chris Horner is still sitting at the back there with Cadel Evans. Evans is riding a phenomenal race here. He needs to do something as well. He knows the climb of the Col de l'Aubisque, and as they come to the summit, just have a look at that, because as they go over the line at the top there, it's going to be around about 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
2:21, the yellow jersey taking what was left of the points on the top of the climb there. So he's still interested in that competition, as a very select group of 12 riders go over the summit. About 50 seconds, I think it was, as the head of that group went underneath at 20 kilometres to go. Just 12 miles. The only trouble is that 9 of those miles are all uphill.
Yes, as we've gone over the Col de la Mary Blanc, we're just in the flat section now before the final climb of the day, and we're now in the town of Larens, which is where the sprint point is. The last sprint point of the day. That's at 18.5 kilometres to go to the finish, and once they leave the sprint point, that's pretty much where the climb actually starts. But as I said, in the early part of the climb, Phil, it's not that difficult. It's around about 5 or 6%. It's what we call a false flat, as Juan Mauricio Soler goes around the corner in first place there. He is itching to get to the climb.
Yes, well, he wanted to win the 40 points at the top, but unfortunately it's the stage victory as well, so he'll get mixed up in another battle now for the day's win. That might be the yellow jersey final win as well, because that could all be decided today, although one gets the feeling it may not be. We're into the town's allowance, and it is 41 seconds the gap. It's still coming down here. There's a small sprint here, but what's the odds on them sprinting? Nothing, I would think.
Around the corner and starting the early slopes of the climb now. The leading group of 4 there, you can hear all the klaxons there. Sastre went through the sprint point there, got himself 6 seconds time bonus. Soler was second, Iban Mayo was third, but the main field now, Phil, 40 seconds, so it's really not very much at all.
Well, Sastre went for those 6 seconds at least. It might be all he gets out of the day at the end of it, because I think it's about to be swept up. because the gap is now 41 seconds. This is the last. They'll see one more town on the lower slopes of the Obisque, and then they're out into the bush, and it's a very, very tough climb.
Well, basically all of the main contenders are in that group with the yellow jersey. The only man not in that group is Carlos Sastre, and he's up the road, but only now by 42 seconds. So very shortly, I would say that all of the leading contenders will be together for the start of the final climb of the day.
This is the town of Larens. It is really the base town before we start the climb of the Obisque. This is the yellow jersey group, and they are closing rapidly on the leaders of the day. 41 seconds is the gap. Carlos Sastre is the man they want back, but I think now we're going to see them throw everything they've got at one another as we start the climb of the Col.
Go now for the three leaders, and they're still holding on to around about that 40-second advantage.
Look at Sastre.
There, Sastre's decided to go, and they've put Iban Mayo into difficulty.
Well, Sastre's really launched an attack, and Mayo's been a bit slow to react to that one. It looks as though he's found his strength. He's just going to get back on. But Sastre, these are desperate moments for Carlos. He's realised he's got to do what he can do. He's not going to surrender without a fight, and he's accelerated again.
Well, that was a very brave move, I have to say, by Carlos Sastre, because after all, Phil, he's been sitting on the front end of this move. He's probably done, of the breakaway this afternoon, he's probably done 75% of the work, and Soler all of a sudden can't follow the acceleration of the CSC rider.
15 kilometres to climb to the summit. That's for the main field with the yellow jersey in it. The other three are just a few seconds ahead of them. And this now is Soler. He's also trying to go, but Sastre has gone, and Mayo's gone round him. Well,
Mayo has gone round him, but he's not quite got to the wheel of Carlos Sastre. That's a phenomenal performance by Carlos Sastre, but Mayo has pulled himself back up now, and I wonder if now he'll decide to do something, put into difficulty. He's been dropped from these two riders. He actually needs to try and recuperate a fraction, because he's going to get picked up by the yellow jersey group, and he still really needs to finish pretty close to Michael Rasmussen if he wants to keep all of the points that he gained today out on the road in the King of the Mountains classification.
He must score some points, otherwise Rasmussen, should he win the day, he'll take 40 back. Double points on the last climb, remember. This is Sastre and Mayo clear of the fields. We look down at the chase here. So just looking here at the situation now, 10 seconds to Soler, the main field, less than a minute behind. It could all come together on this climb.
Which contains the yellow jersey of Michael Rasmussen. He's made the left-hand turn, and now Iban Mayo has decided to come to the front. Iban, if you want to win the stage here this afternoon, it's no use sitting on the wheel of Carlos Sastre. You need to work with him.
We are now 12 kilometres from the summit and the finish of the Col d'Aubisque here. We're looking at the chase at 48 seconds. It's still the hard work being done by the team of the yellow jersey, Rasmussen. Ahead lie only 3 riders now, 2, 1, and then this group here.
Well, that corner really hurt Denny Menchov. Look at that, he's pulled off now, number 51. He has gone completely out. He came and he hit that corner, the steep gradient, and he said, I can't do this anymore.
Well, I'm not surprised, for goodness sake. He's been terrific, but he searched for those gears. He's put the lowest gear on the bike in to stop those legs cramping up. Now all he can do is get up to the finish. 7 miles uphill, 12 kilometres for him.
Well, don't forget, this man is a winner of the Vuelta a España. There, Carlos Sastre has gone again.
Well, can Mayo do any answer to this? Maybe he hasn't been shamming all race. Maybe he could never work at the front, but look, he can. He's kicked again to try and rejoin Sastre.
Well, he just doesn't have the acceleration of the pure climb of Carlos Sastre, but once he can get the big gear going, he's pulling himself back to him. This, though, is about to be the end, I think, of the breakaway this afternoon, Phil, because if you look there, you can see that it's only 34 seconds between Carlos Sastre, Iban Mayo, and the front end of the field now. Jaroslav Popovic, once the Rabobank riders have disappeared, Jaroslav Popovic has come to the front.
They were waiting, just like hawks in the background. Poor old Chris Horner couldn't answer the lift of acceleration there. He has dropped now. That's left Cadel Evans on his own in this front group. Here comes the traffic jam. We've got to get through with the cameras. Now Popovic is now pacing Contador, and now they've exposed Rasmussen.
He is completely exposed. There are 3 riders here from Discovery Channel. Look at Levi Leipheimer just sitting on the wheel of Michael Rasmussen. Now is the moment when Contador is waiting for the steep gradient to really kick in. David Arroyo is saying goodbye to the front end of this group, but he's still going to stay well up in the overall classification. Jaroslav Popovic is the man for Team Discovery Channel here. There's Cadel Evans over on the left-hand side, looking fairly good, waiting for the accelerations to start.
Well, we're looking at the leaders, but I hope we don't miss the move, because I can almost guarantee the next attack will come from Levi Leipheimer on this climb. This is the man split between the 2 leaders and the chasers behind, and he's still trying to hold them off and fight. But very shortly, they're going to be up with him now, because he can't hold them off possibly. The infighting has begun.
Well,
there they are.
There they are. There's the yellow jersey. There is Jaroslav Popovic. This has been, again, a real tough battle. This man, Haimar Zubeldia, was 6th overall at the start of the day. He is with Michael Bogert. He has now just got to find a rhythm and survive the final slopes, the final 11 kilometers of climbing in this year's Tour.
Well, as we come to this hairpin bend, this is the chase now. 25 seconds is the spread. This is Juan Soler, shortly to be joined. There they come now, the high-revving Discovery Channel boys. They are paving the way for an attack by Leipheimer now. Now, the yellow jersey of Rasmussen. He must be feeling which one is going to go for me first.
Well, that's what he's waiting for. He knows that the attack is going to come, and Team Discovery Channel have got themselves a very nice situation here. Frank Schleck at the back, just in front of him, Alejandro Valverde, in front of him, Oscar Pereiro. The polka dot jersey there of Juan Mauricio Soler is slotting into the wheel there of Cadel Evans.
Well, sitting at the back here is Frank Schleck. It's still looking pretty okay here for a man that struggled in these mountains these last few days. Tagged on to the back behind Alejandro Valverde, Pereiro, but this is the race now. This is the tempo being set by Popovic to try and pave the way for Contador to break the yellow jersey. He will keep it as long as he can, and then it's up meters to go, and it looks as though now this is the move. We knew that once we got to the steep side, Leipheimer will launch the first attack. Rasmussen is itching. He's got to make a decision now. Do I go after Levi? Do I gamble he won't get the time? Or do I look at Contador? And this is decision time for the yellow. He's coming back at Leipheimer.
This is a very good move here. I wasn't surprised to see that move coming by Levi Leipheimer. Popovic has done his job. He's disappearing from the group. He must now just try and survive. But what they've done is set up a launch pad now for Alberto Contador to go over the top. Levi Leipheimer looks over his shoulder. He can now see the yellow jersey. Just sitting on his wheel there is Alberto Contador, and Cadel Evans is very comfortable.
Well, they're now split the whole of the Tour de France around the mountain here, but there we now have Levi Leipheimer setting the tempo, still protecting the young protege, because we now have the top 4 riders overall: Rasmussen, Contador, Evans and Leipheimer, and we're still hunting. Now, these are all together now. These are the leaders of the race. Here is Karl Strassler. He's been caught and left by the group.
Yep, it was all in that little bit of confusion at the moment when Levi Leipheimer was launching his attack. We came right onto the wheel of Carlos Sastre and Iban Mayo. Then all of a sudden, it was a dynamite at the front end, and it was all done by Levi Leipheimer. Now he is going to be the sacrificial lamb here. He's on the front for Discovery Channel. They're thinking whether or not they can put the man in the yellow jersey, Michael Rasmussen, into a spot of bother here this afternoon. They are just waiting. I can see the little twitches there coming from Alberto Contador. He's waiting for the steepness. He's waiting for the moment to try and make his move. He needs to try and pull back a minute today if he wants to nurture any dreams, Phil, of winning the Tour de France.
The attack now by Contador still says 9.2 kilometers. We're a bit closer than that. And where is Rasmussen? This is the acceleration Rasmussen hates. He has to pick the tempo, but it takes him moments to do.
Well, he's got to make the move, man. Michael Rasmussen must not panic. This was the acceleration. As soon as we came out of the tunnel, he looked for that move, and he now knows this is a possibility of winning the Tour de France this year. Looks over his shoulder, and he can still see the shape there, Phil, of the yellow jersey.
Well, as Contador now climbs away, Rasmussen is a little bit confused here. He's got 2 minutes 23 seconds in hand. He can afford to lose a little bit, but not a lot. Cadel Evans content just to follow the yellow jersey. Where's Leipheimer? Is he still there? Yes, he is. And Contador just checking here as to whether to go. He's waiting.
Well,
that's attack one.
Well, that's attack number one. If Cadel Evans has got the legs this afternoon, this would be an ideal moment for him to try and go for the victory, because you know what? Michael Rasmussen may not chase Cadel Evans down. He starts the day, Cadel, 4 minutes behind Michael Rasmussen in the overall classification. Levi Leipheimer has now brought himself back up to the yellow jersey. The yellow jersey is defending.
Well, now we're down to just over 8 kilometres as we look now. Forget the group Valverde, it's back to nearly a minute. This is the group now. Sastra's chasing at 32 seconds behind, but we now have it 8 kilometres from the summit, 5 miles to climb. Rasmussen, well, he's so confused and he knows they're going to hit him again. He's got to work out when. Levi's gone from the back now. What's he going to do? This is the second attack by Levi Leipheimer. Paul, Team Discovery are operating like a superb machine here. They're hitting him every chance they've got.
Well, that was a move, and really, if Rasmussen was a little bit more intelligent, he wouldn't have chased this down. He doesn't need to chase this down. Leipheimer's 5.5 minutes behind him in the overall classification, but they're actually playing, Rasmussen is playing into the hands now of Team Discovery Channel, because I would think as soon as they make the junction, Contador will go again.
Well, if Leipheimer starts to slip away, of course, Cadel Evans has got to go after him, because he's not that far behind him overall, a minute 25. So Cadel's also playing a rather risky game here, but so far it's working out. These are the riders falling back here as Mayo goes back, and the faces there of the riders. But they're riding now over a minute behind at what is the 80 seconds. Cadel Evans, quite rightly, is letting, there he goes. This is the acceleration that Rasmussen hates, and there's no reaction from any of them yet.
Well, this is a good move by Alberto Contador. He will keep throwing these accelerations as often as he can, but Rasmussen will just have to ride himself back slowly but surely. He won't get any help from the two riders with him, Levi Leipheimer or Cadel Evans. He's got a slight gap there for the moment. Now Michael Rasmussen has to find something. He's got to dig deep and pull himself back to the man who's challenging him.
He's incredible, Rasmussen. He can't do that acceleration, but once he gets up to high end, he can ride himself back into the race. Cadel Evans out of the saddle, working, I think, to stay in touch with these three climbers. And Cadel Evans himself is a great climber, but this time, maybe Contador's going to crack Rasmussen.
Well, Contador has given that acceleration again. He's one of the rare climbers in the world who can accelerate again and again on the slopes of a climb, but Rasmussen needs to be calm, Phil. He needs to calm his inner self at the moment and find a rhythm and slowly pull himself back up to the Spaniard.
Tries to find that rhythm. He's cracked Levi Leipheimer here, and quickly Cadel Evans nips round him and back onto the back wheel. The top three riders in the Tour de France are coming together.
Well, if Cadel Evans can move across as smoothly as that, Cadel needs to start thinking about whether he should launch an attack here this afternoon.
We're looking at 6.5 kilometres to go now, and we have the three top riders on the classification together. Leipheimer a little bit in oxygen debt there, and now look at this as they go shoulder to shoulder. Rasmussen is going to hit Contador.
Well, he's tried. I think he's going to try his own offensive now, but look how easy Contador is. He's all over Rasmussen. Another move by Contador.
Well, Contador's counter the move. Poor old Cadel here is just having to stay outside of the slipstream of these two boys. 6.4 kilometres to climb now as the riders come up the steepest slopes here. This is going to be a terrific ride now. Cadel Evans is going to have to recover. He's still sitting third in this race, and that won't damage that today.
Well, Cadel Evans is just riding at his own pace here this afternoon, as we can see these two men slowly looking at each other, wondering where the next move is going to come from.
Well, the battle as they go underneath our commentary box here. Look at the crowd as they ride round here. The three have come together on the climb. It's the yellow jersey on the front. Contador, Evans is back in the game. Then there's a small gap to Levi Leipheimer, a long way back. Here is poor old Carlos Sastre, played a great card today, and he's still somehow finding the strength to limit his losses.
Well, there's another move here.
Here we go, Paul, another one.
Contador will not lay down arms until he gets to the summit of this climb here this afternoon. He's giving every acceleration he's got, but actually Michael Rasmussen's looking a little bit more comfortable now, as once again Cadel Evans can't respond to these incredible accelerations.
Cadel is right to stay at his own rhythm. He's mixing it with two of the greatest climbers in the world, and Leipheimer's back up to Cadel. Leipheimer has rejoined Cadel Evans on the climb, while the two men in the top two positions They're now drawn swords and they're fighting a personal duel.
Well, this is unbelievable, the way this Contador can accelerate on the slopes of some of these climbs. He puts himself into the slipstream of Michael Rasmussen. I think he's just trying to recuperate for a fraction. I'm sure he's going to try and hit him again. He knows he's got to keep going. If he wants to win the Tour, he may well never get an opportunity like this again. So he's got to keep going all the way to the summit. He's got to get some time back today.
Those long, thin legs of Michael Rasmussen. They call him Chick. A little bit of a flat here before we kick again. But they are going so quickly up this mountain. Cadel, and look at this, Leipheimer's going. This is another attack.
Well, Leipheimer wants the stage here this afternoon, Phil. He wants to do everything he can, not only for himself, but for the team. They will throw everything they can at Michael Rasmussen. Rasmussen's getting very upset with the television cameras here this afternoon. He believes that those television cameras are encouraging the other riders to attack. Leipheimer takes up first position. He's looking this afternoon to try and see if he can grab a podium position as well.
Well, our camera's staying out of the way, I think. It's a foreshortened shot, that, as Leipheimer's been mastered now by a very calm yellow jersey. And look at this now. He's not quite as close as he appears, but he is closing it down. 4 kilometers to go, and still no decision.
Well, Leipheimer swings off. OK, Michael, you're the man who's in the yellow jersey. You set the pace making on the front.
Well, I'm not too sure whether he seemed to pat Leipheimer on the back there and push him back in the lead.
Well, he knows, you see he's playing a very clever card here. He knows that Leipheimer's looking for a 3rd place in the overall standings, but Levi Leipheimer knows that he's got to get rid of Cadel Evans. Cadel hasn't cracked at all here. He's riding at his own pace. He's trying to make sure that he limits his losses. He started the day with 1 minute and 25 seconds advantage over Levi Leipheimer, and he needs to conserve that.
And I think if he can hold it for the next couple of kilometers, then he will go to the time trial shoulder to shoulder with Leipheimer, and they shouldn't be too far apart on the day because they both ride an excellent time trial. I don't think they can close down the gaps to Contador and Rasmussen. That will go to the time trial as well. Leipheimer is still setting the pace, and Evans just keeps on looking at them, and Leipheimer looking over his shoulder to see where Evans is. He won't be happy if you can see him. 4 kilometers to go for Carlos.
Now, this is Juan Maurizio Soler, Phil. I don't know where he's found his energy.
Back again.
Because he's pulling himself back up to Carlos Sastre. He's going to be looking at being in 5th place on the road. Now, he wants the king of the mountains, and if he finishes in the top 6 places, he's pretty much got that sewn up tonight.
Well, that's it, and he's gone right round Sastre as our cameras are switched back here to the big 3 battle of 3 unbelievable climbers. Make it 4 because Evans is hanging in. A private world of hell for Cadel Evans back there, trying to control these 3 guys at 3 kilometers to go.
Levi Leipheimer doing the job of the teammate for Alberto Contador, setting the pace. Contador not looking quite as frisk as he was a couple of days ago, just going through there. Cadel Evans is at around about 15 seconds.
Oh, look at the face of Cadel Evans. You could fill a water bottle with the perspiration running off his face right now as he tries just to hold them. He knows he's got to limit his losses, especially to Leipheimer. He's dreaming of a podium place in Paris. No Australian's ever been there, and he's still holding them in his sights. And
that's what Levi Leipheimer is dreaming about also. He wants that podium position himself if he can. He wants to try and pull himself up into 3rd slot, but he's looking for 1 minute and 25 seconds. There are time bonuses at the finish line. Let's not forget 20 seconds for the first rider to cross the line, 12 seconds and 8 seconds, and I'm sure Cadel Evans knows that. Juan Maurizio Soler is now in 4th position on the road, 5th position on the road.
As a little bit levelling just in front, but it kicks around this corner again at 2.8 kilometers to go. That's for the leaders. Here comes Juan Hernandez. He's underneath in 1st place and 3K to go, and still needs those points, double points. He needs them in the bank because the way this is going, Rasmussen could win this stage, and he's so annoyed with these motorbikes now.
Well, I'm not. He just keeps waving at them, and unfortunately, that's
well, there they all are. Look at them all.
Well, that's all part and parcel of the professional racing. You need the motorbikes to bring the pictures. You need the motorbikes to make you famous, and that's what he needs to understand. And even if he thinks that those motorbikes are going to assist the movement of Levi Leipheimer, they could also assist him as well. He's sitting there. He looks a little bit under pressure, but I have to say, I think Contador is looking a bit under pressure now.
Yes, I think Contador has put his moves in, and he hasn't gotten. There will be a death throw from one of them, or if not both of them. as again now he wants these bikes to get out of it, but he's really getting himself too excited here. Get on with the job in hand, I would think. Here comes Levi Leipheimer. He said it would all happen in the Pyrenees. He's been simply superb. He's tried to play the cards. So far, they haven't worked. The man in yellow is hanging in there and taking everything. Team Discovery. The last time check on Cadel will be right there as we see 1 kilometre to go. It looks as though Levi has done his stuff now. Now it's up to Contador. It's the same two we saw racing into Ludonviel as they battle it out between themselves. Now the white jersey is going to follow the yellow jersey and try and take the stage away from him. But this has been the day of yellow jersey today. He has handled himself so well, and is he distancing him? I think he's cracked Contador.
Well, he's got the acceleration on the steeper part at the top end of this climb. The Discovery Channel riders have done everything, and now Rasmussen's gone.
Well, that is the Tour de France winner as he heads up towards the line now. They threw every piece of ammunition on the ship at him, and it was not enough. Michael Rasmussen is now free to fly and win the Tour de France.
Well, they gave everything they had, the riders from Team Discovery Channel here this afternoon, but now all of a sudden this man is riding with anger. He wants to win the Tour. He wants to increase his lead in the overall classification, and they're not going to see him anymore this afternoon.
Well, Michael Rasmussen now is building on all of his adversaries in time. He started with 2:23 on Contador. A 20-second time bonus awaits him as well. So youth again, 24 years of age, Alberto Contador. He tried today to do it, but I think the stamina not quite there in the young body. This man, quite a few years older, 6 years older, more. He's now moving up to the line here, and with it, every pedal rev, he gained another few seconds. This has been a very demonstrative day for Michael Rasmussen.
Well, he knew he was going to come under pressure. He knew that the pressure would come from Team Discovery Channel. They did everything. Levi Leipheimer now is piloting Alberto Contador to the summit of this climb. Contador quite happy now, I think, to sit with his teammate. He's done an awful lot. He attacked so many times, but you could see by his body language, Bill, that he was really under pressure. He's sitting a lot lower. He's sitting on the front end of his saddle, just trying to keep himself going forward. Let's not forget, he's only 24 years of age. He can come back to the Tour in the future.
Well, here is Michael Rasmussen now as he races up to the finishing line high in the Pyrenees. For the last 2 years, the king of the mountains. At this time, he's king of the Tour de France. He stamps on the pedals here, and he's going to feel so happy inside that he's rid himself of the two riders on Team Discovery. The clock will start as soon as he hits the line. I think Leipheimer will try and get Contador over in second place because of the slightly bigger time bonus, which might yet decide this Tour de France.
Well, I'm not sure whether he will, because in fact he might need the time bonus himself, because Cadel Evans is now at 54 seconds, and there it is.
The victory by Michael Rasmussen, that is a real punch at the skies, and it might well turn out to be the stage that has won him the Tour de France. Look at the set jaw now as they try to save second here. Contador could not hold on to Levi. He's pushing on here to snatch the second bonus. He's still looking for third place, at least in Paris in a few days' time. He can deliver a great time trial, Levi Leipheimer. He hits the line, he gets a small 12-second bonus to add to his 26 seconds or so deficit. And we're looking now at the top. I think we had a bit of a picture break there. Let's hope they can get it back as we look at the top of the Obisque. Wasn't the best time to lose pictures. I can tell you, though, that Contador is over the line now in third place. Cadel Evans is on the climb at the moment.
Well, the last time check we got to Cadel Evans was at 44 seconds. Levi Leipheimer stopped the clock at 24 seconds behind Michael Rasmussen. Rasmussen looks back like the true professional to see whether or not anybody's anywhere near him at all. Well, they're not, because Levi Leipheimer was at 24 seconds. And I think the young rider from Spain, Alberto Contador, Phil, he gave everything he had this afternoon, but it wasn't quite enough.
Well, it wasn't, but you can only do your best, and that's exactly what they all did today. Everybody in that breakaway threw everything they had at this race. But you could tell by the face of Rasmussen that he really did have this race under control. Now, at the moment, we're just looking at replays here, and normally we could look out of our commentary box and tell you what's happening, but we're 6 kilometres below the summit of the Col d'Aubisque. very unfortunate that some power failure up here has lost our pictures for the minute. These are replays when we saw Leipheimer trying to drag Contador back into it, finally drops him. This is the winner of the day, and for Michael Rasmussen now, it's his second stage win of this year's Tour de France. Gives him 4 overall in the history of the event. But Paul, the time gaps are open now. He's going to be approaching 3 minutes at least.
He's going to have a massive time advantage. It will be pretty close to 3 minutes over Alberto Contador, but the most important thing is to figure out the difference between Levi Leipheimer and Cadel Evans. He really made a demonstration here on the upper slopes of the Col de l'Aubisque. He was attacked, he knew he would be attacked, but he remained calm and collected all of the time, responding to those attacks in the way that was best for him, and that was allowing Contador to go and slowly pulling himself up to...
6 hours 20 minutes today, 26 seconds to Leipheimer, 35 to Contador, 43 to Evans, and 1 minute 25 to Mauricio Soler.
Well, let's not forget, Mauricio Soler was the only survivor of that early breakaway. Haimar Zubeldia did a great ride there to hold on to his place in the overall classification, and a good ride by the up-and-coming star Juan Jose Cobo. And Carlos Sastre, he was in the breakaway all day, went for the big move, and ended up in 8th place.
Pereiro getting the better of his teammate Valverde. Popovic getting in there in 11th place. Despite all the work he does, he'll keep his high overall standing. Arroyo, Schleck, Bogart there. What a hero Bogart was. And Kim Kirken, in the end, crosses the line in 15th place. Dropped on every mountain. That's amazing. And Mayo there in 16th. You're spot on. Look at that. Rasmussen, 3 minutes 10 now to Contador, improved from 2:23. Cadel Evans holds third, but goes back from 4 minutes to 5:03. Levi Leipheimer closes in on Cadel Evans, now at 5:59. Carlos Sastre has held his 5th place, but look at that. Now 9 minutes and 12 seconds. Further down, Zubeldi's had the ride of his life in this tour. He's 6th. Valverde still hanging there. Kim Kirken, yes, he dropped a place to 8th, but that's not bad. Popovic comes up to 9th, and Mauricio Soler in the top 10. That's a terrific result for him. There's a few more places for you. Astolosa is there in 11th, and Arroyo still yo-yoing but holding on, and Chris Horner, Paul, 26 minutes down but 15th.
Well, that's not important. The time is not important at all. I've got to tell you one thing. Chris Horner did a great ride. But for me, one of the great rides of the day is the man who now has the polka dot jersey. This man wanted that. He's been wearing it on loan from Michael Rasmussen until today, and now he's got it.
We're heading to the hot flatlands now. The race is turning north, heading towards Paris, and looking for a new leader of the Tour de France, following the exclusion yesterday of Michael Rasmussen after 9 days in the leader's yellow jersey. The question now everyone is asking is, who will replace Michael Rasmussen in yellow? Alberto Contador has the right to wear yellow. He has refused to pull the jersey on today. So tonight, who will stand atop this podium as the next leader of the Tour de France?
Yeah, the top 3 riders are pretty much locked together, really, but when you could put it down to the time trial, because Alberto Contador leads Cadel Evans by 1 minute and 53 seconds. Levi Leipheimer in third, 2:49. Carlos Sastre, he's a long way back, though, at 6:02, with Haimar Zubeldia putting in his best ever performance in the Tour de France in 5th place.
Here's our quick journey around France, coming out of London with the start. We're right down at the bottom, beginning the journey north, as I say, Paul.
Well, the riders, I think, will be a little bit happier with the profile, although there's lots of little red spots which indicate small climbs. When you actually look at the profile, it's only a ripple. And it is pretty much flat over the 188.5 kilometers all the way to Castel Sarrazin.
So there's some stage facts for you. 188.5 kilometers, about the difference between Las Vegas, Death Valley Junction and Nevada, 115 miles. First finish here in Castel Sarrazin, and it was a start town in 2001 and 2004. The usual couple of sprints along the way. We've got those 5 Category 4 climbs and 1 third category climb, most of them early on. Yes, so there's the route, and there's the hot shimmer of the day here. They're saying a top of 81, but I think it's going to go a little bit hotter than that. It feels extremely warm down here at the finish in Castel Sarrazin, and the crowd beginning to gather here. Super day, Paul.
It's a brilliant day, ideal day for racing, but very tough roads in this part of France, especially when you know that the temperature is certainly going to soar. The riders leaving, and I think Happyfield to leave the Pyrenees behind them, but today I think we're going to see a fairly rapid run.
Well, after all the arguments and sackings, etc., 143 riders are left in this race from the 189 that started. 2 teams were abandoned, of course, but the 21 teams that started, 2 of them are still with all 9 men. They are Quick-Step and Gerolsteiner. That might be important today as they try to bring the sprinters down. As we look at the pictures, though, this is an interesting sign. This is the Spanish Case de Pong team trying to bring back a breakaway of 8. The feeling is because they want to try and bring this race back together, as they're planning now on trying to win the team race.
Well, I doubt if they can win the team race because they're more than a quarter of an hour behind Team Discovery Channel in that competition, but they will certainly hold on to second place in that competition, which is worth about $20,000, 16,000 euros for the second team in the competition. So I'm sure that is something that's in the back of their mind.
Look at the leaders. There's the list for Jens Voigt, Martin Elmiger, Bernardi, Righi, Foten, Canziato, Tozzato, and the man at the back in yellow, David Miller, who's been pretty active. We've gone over 5 of the climbs at the moment. Miller's won 2, Foten's won 2, and Tozzato has won 1. The significant thing is, Paul, although there's 8 of them and they've been away since the 9th kilometre today, the race has been chasing them. They've rarely got more than a minute and a half.
No, I think the teams at the front end of the main field have been quite happy to try and make sure this breakaway doesn't get too far off the front end of the main field. We got a chance to look at some heart rates on the route this afternoon. Mikel Delaz, Sergio Paulino is a fairly consistent supplier of his heart rate to us. Christian Knies, Ralf Grabsch, and of course Marcus Burkhardt.
I'm just glad the pulses weren't on me last night when they announced the disqualification of Michael Rasmussen. We heard it about 11 o'clock here in France, and it stunned us to say the least. Rasmussen sacked by his team, as we say. Well, the peloton has gone out for just about its furthest deficit here at 2 minutes and 13 seconds. You can see it's all downhill towards the end today. Where the red marker is, we're just about in the feed. In fact, we are in the feed here, and there for Marcus Foten is his food bag.
Well, it's an important thing to do. These riders now moving into the slightly flatter part of the course. They're going through the feeding station at 86 kilometres covered. And that leaves them with still 101 kilometres to go to the finish. I think we may well see a bunch sprint this afternoon, Phil, because I know in the main field there's a lot of riders that they're a little bit angry about what happened with the expulsion of Michael Rasmussen, taken out of the race by his team, Team Rabobank, who made a very brave decision to react to the information that he'd probably been telling lies about his whereabouts, because he wasn't actually in Mexico training, he was training in the Dolomites.
That's right, and this is the team Case de Palm with George Hincapie, the odd man out on the left of our picture here, trying to just keep these escapers inside. They've got a long way to go yet, just on almost exactly 100 kilometres to ride. So I don't think this breakaway is going to succeed. They have picked up most of the day's prizes. There's 1 sprint and 1 small climb left near the end. It says the feed station here, Denny Menchov has just got off his bike and has retired from the Tour de France. I think mentally he has been beaten here by what has happened within the Rabobank team. The exclusion yesterday by the team, let's not forget, of Michael Rasmussen. Menchov was his big workhorse, should have been the team leader by his own right, but he chose when Rasmussen did so well to try and get him to win the Tour de France. So the 7th Tour de France comes to an end for the man who wore the white jersey in the Tour de France back in 2003. Denny Menchov out, and the field now down to 141 riders. Well, this breakaway of 8, which got away just over 5 miles today, Jens Voigt, Martin Elmiger, Daniela Bernardi, Daniela Righi, Marcus Foten, Manuel Canziato, Matteo Tozzato and David Miller, has got a lead now of just 2 minutes and 31. That's the biggest lead they've had, because the peloton until just about 10 or 15 minutes ago had been limiting their escape to about a minute and a half. So they're starting to pull away. It is a gorgeous day here. It's extremely hot. This is one of the hot areas of France here. We're in D'Artagnan country, home of the Musketeers. He has gone and done just that.
Well, Bernardi realises already improved his chances here. Elmiger won't give up. Elmiger's a very strong rider. There he is, there just at the front of these 2 chasers, and he's got himself arched right over his handlebars. Voigt has seen this as an opportunity and thought, well, I'll keep going, but you know, it's back together at 3 kilometres to go. It's still 4 men.
As they continue now, they've fought their way back. Martin Elmiger takes a look over his shoulder at Marcus Foten and said, hey, thanks for all the help you gave me catching these 2. Nothing.
Absolutely nothing, but don't worry, Jens Voigt will try again. He's already seen now that there's a weakness. The two other riders at the back there are not quite as strong as the two men at the front, but he's already seen that Daniele Bernati has got the zip, he's got the acceleration, but that can be dangerous because you've showed your cards.
Now, who's going to go next? They're going to be very nervous now. All the trust has gone now. They don't turn their back. They know somebody will go again, and the gap has gone up with that flurry of attacking. We're now outside of 10 minutes for the first time. 2.6 kilometers to go. Jens Voigt, Martin Elmiger, Daniele Bernati, Marcus Foten. 4 different teams. Foten has been forced through now. He's probably the youngest rider here. In fact, he is. Followed by Elmiger.
Well, Foten was thinking there, shall I have a go myself? I could just see the muscles starting to twitch a fraction, but Elmiger says no, 2 kilometers to go. Let's just keep the pace nice and high. Let's not mess around like this anymore, because we might as well get ourselves to the finish and just run it out man to man in a drag strip race to the finish line.
Now, let me see, 1.5 kilometers to go. Expect Jens Voigt perhaps to shoot off the back of this group. Nobody wants to play anymore. Now Foten wants to find out where Jens Voigt is, and look at that. Voigt opens the door and makes Foten go in and close it.
Seasoned campaigner Jens Voigt, very careful now. You see Elmiger now has got himself a little bit of a gap, but look how attentive Daniele Bernati is there. Every time there's a small gap, he's the one who nails it back. But this is getting dangerous for him. He's got to keep an eye on the other riders in the breakaway. He wants to get into the final kilometer, then he'll start to feel a little bit relaxed. He's feeling now like a track sprinter. He's been put on the defensive, looking over his shoulder. He knows these guys know that he's the fastest rider in the breakaway, and Jens Voigt, no, I'm not coming.
Well, Voigt is waiting for his only chance now, and that's to come off the back of these 4. They're looking for the 1 kilometer to go. Marcus Foten, that is a big, serious effort. He's left the top gear in as he hits this small climb. Well, he was saving something there because Elmiger can't bridge it.
Well, Elmiger's left a gap go now, and now's the time that if this man in the Lamprey jersey wants to get the win, he's got to make the move. And Jens Voigt is going to force him to make that move, and Jens is going to stay in the slipstream for as long as possible. But look how quickly Bernati got himself across that gap, Phil. He's got the acceleration, he's got that kick this afternoon, and I think he's looking for the win.
Well, that was a wide sweep by Foten, but I'll tell you what, that was clever of Jens Voigt to make the sprinter close the gap, and now it's the sprinter licking his lips here. Coming into the last 500 meters, who's going to take on Daniele Bernati? They've made him take the lead.
Well, he's just sitting there locked up against the barriers. The reason he's riding there on the left-hand side of the road against the barriers is to force the other riders to come by him. Now he's opening up the gap. He wants to start this sprint from the back position, looking back to see if there's anybody else there. Jens Voigt knows the wheel that he wants. This is going to be like a track, and again, you can see Foten makes the move.
Well, that was a false move, in fact, by Elmiger, but he sat down immediately when they looked across and seen him. Now it's the line-up for this finish, and they've got Martin Elmiger, the former champion of Switzerland, sitting on the front. Bernati knows he's the fastest, but he's got to make sure he sees the initial move by whomever it's going to be. And Jens Voigt won't move here. Foten's going to be the first. It was telegraphed to the leaders there. Foten's now going. Elmer's on the front, but I think they played into Bernati's hands here. And through the gap goes Jens Voigt to try and hook up with Daniele Bernati. But see the difference in the speed here. And Marcus Foten is taking on Bernati, but Bernati gets Italy's only second win of the tour. The other one was Filippo Pozzato on stage 5. It was pretty easy in the end.
Well, it was pretty easy, but very nervous for Daniele Bernati. He knew he had to do something special. He had to watch everybody. They all knew he was the fastest man in the breakaway here this afternoon, but you never know in a group like this of 4 riders after such a long breakaway, 183 kilometers of breakaway, the body can do funny things, but it didn't for Daniele Bernati because he got the victory he's been looking for.
Yes, the Lamprey team wanted this. They hadn't won much at all until today, and now the sprinters come and deliver the goods. But you see, we saw Foten struggling out on the course, and if you let a man come back into the race, he can almost steal the stage. Foten, that was a great sprint, but he wasn't fast enough for Daniele Bernati.
No, he wasn't. Look at the acceleration of Bernati. You know, Bernati is one of the top sprinters in the race. He's up alongside the kind of speed of a Robbie Hunter or a Tom Bonan, and give him a crack from a small group like this, he's going to seize the opportunity.
And just as happened in Marseille, Voigt has finished last of the leading group. He was 5th of 5, now he's 4th of 4. But that's the way it goes. He's such an entertaining cyclist.
Well, he's gone one better, and for Jens Voigt, it's all a question of being in the front.
over the beautiful River Garonne. The man in the foreground there, fly fishing. Who cares about the Tour de France going over the bridge on his right shoulder? But they are flying now, because now the sprinters are fighting for what would be a ninth place finish, because we still have the remnants of that breakaway out front. All right, well, the peloton be a short while yet, 10 minutes out on the highway, and we've got a couple of guys in between. They'll dwindle in. There's the winner. As we look down across the Garonne here, there's the long road down to the finish in Castel Sarrazat. The sprint winner today, Daniela Bernati. It was a sprint, but not quite as we envisioned.
Coming from Tween Quickstep, they must be rather upset to have to work like this just for a simple ninth place, but it's important for Boonen in the green. Look at Hunter and Zabel. They're actually battling to stay in the slipstream of the Quickstep train.
Point of honour, this one, as the big lead out comes, and his big Stegman's just in front of the man in green. Boonen is in a perfect position now as the sprinters will move off. Thor Hushovd is in the distance and out of it, I think. But watch the boy in green and the man in red. That's Robbie Hunter. And a little bit of a rush too by Foster, but he's dropped out of it now. Two men still there to go, and then there goes Sebastian Chavanel. Nobody was looking at him as he went for it. And now comes Boonen and Hunter in the middle. Zabel, I don't think, is going to get anything, but I think Boonen has just increased his lead by a couple of points over Robbie Hunter.
Yeah, Sebastian Chavanel just coming across the line behind Tom Boonen. Then it was Robbie Hunter. But you look at the acceleration. There's the move. That's a great move on the left-hand side by Sebastian Chavanel. But all of a sudden, Tom Boonen can feel the action. Then all of a sudden, he decides, I've got to get this. It's all a question of pride here, while Hunter continues to battle behind.
So Boonen gets maximum points from the rest. Hunter finishes just behind the rider in white, so he'll lose 2 points to Boonen, but he'll increase his lead over Eric Zabel. There's a look there at the race situation now at the finish today. Result, Bernati was in the original break of 8 at the 9th kilometre today, survived to win ahead of Marcus Foten, and Martin Elmager was in 3rd, and Jens Voigt 4th of 4 again, yet he's so aggressive. David Miller also in the break, trails in 5th at 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Sasato never contested 6, he tried. Manuel Quinziato was 7th, Daniel Origi 8th. Tom Boonen brings home the peloton at 9 minutes and 37 seconds. Matter of a principle, that, I think.
Oh, certainly, he had to make sure he finished ahead of Robbie Hunter in 11th, and of course ahead of Eric Zabel in 13th, because for him the most important thing is to keep extending his lead in the green jersey points classification. A little bit further down, being very careful, Cadel Evans was 17th and Alberto Contador was 20th. Not important the positions for them, but what's important is to make sure they stay at the front of the main field.